Hello, everyone. Here we are with episode 7 of North of Reason.
Yep.
So today we have Paulo Belzic, Sarah Robinson,
Hello.
myself, I'm Sean Bombani, and joining us today is a guest star. His name is Ben Riseman.
How you doing?
Boo.
And so today we're going to be talking...
Really? You need to get the Sour Patch Kid?
I need a Sour Patch Kid.
That was quick.
It's also right next to the microphone. It's like every time someone grabs it, it's going to be this big rustle. Alright.
I got it, guys.
Problem solved.
Today, we're going to be talking about conspiracy theories. And we're going to try to separate, reality from fiction.
Wait, can we move the pineapple and make it closer to us?
Oh yeah, Sarah cut up a pineapple.
I tore it apart. Yep.
Okay.
Beep, beep.
So Sean, I know you feel very strongly about one of these conspiracy theories. So you want to start us off? Finish your Sour Patch Kid.
Okay, I have
Take
three.
your time.
I have 3 words for you, Paul.
Okay.
I have 3 words for you. Wait. Is it 3 words?
I think it's 3, yeah.
No, it's 4 words. I have 4 words for you, Paul. Where is the curve?
Sean, what are you talking about?
In this ass.
Whoa.
Damn.
No matter how high you go up, if you look at the horizon line, it's straight. If the Earth were truly a sphere, as you radicals might believe, it would be curved, the horizon line. Where is the curve?
Sean, I don't think you understand perspectives here. First of all, just to clear this up, we're talking about flat Earth, correct?
Yes.
This is our first theory. Yep.
Oh man, why did we have to make this one first? All right. So
You were the one who put it first.
this kid wants to talk about it. I don't care about this.
Don't blame Sean Paul. This is all you.
Okay. So Sean, there's this thing called perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at your curved horizon, how are you going to see a curved horizon?
Mm-hmm. But if you're up on top of a mountain,
Right.
and you're looking miles and miles and miles out into the horizon, if you were to calculate out, like the circumference of the Earth, supposedly,
Right, yeah.
the distance of the Earth, then you should see some degree of curve in the mileage that you see, like the amount of X you can cover with your eyes.
So you're talking about the arc length?
Yeah.
But
The amount of X you can cover with your eyes on the horizon line when you have that high should have some sort of arc, yet it's completely flat.
there is a curve.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went on a cruise when I was in 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And out on the ocean, nothing around, you can see the curvature of the Earth. On the ocean horizon.
Well, I haven't seen any images of this.
There actually are images.
Yeah.
There's one image of a sailboat that goes over the horizon, and you can only see the actual sail sticking up, but the rest of the boat vanishes behind the waves.
Mm-hmm.
So that would prove that the Earth curves at that distance.
And yet, so the thing with this is we're relying on image data,
Oh,
things
because
recorded by
Photoshop
people.
and
Right,
images can
exactly.
be distorted.
Sarah, which side are you on?
I just want to see you guys fight.
To me, an empirical approach means that I need to be able to observe this with my mind, observe this with my own eyes and with my own ears.
Okay.
Isn't that innately faulty?
Yeah.
How so?
So Sean, we talked about in psychology
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes.
how you can imprint false memories upon a person. So can't you not trust your memory?
So at that point you can't trust anything really, and thus the whole world around me would fall apart. So I choose to have faith in my memory, although I acknowledge that it's not actually foolproof.
Okay. So you said you had 3 points for flat Earth. Mountain looking down is your first point, which is complete BS.
No.
It is. Sean, it is. Sean, if you look at a mountain, the reason you're seeing flat in quotation marks is from the perspective.
I think that you've all been blinded because all your lives you've been told that the Earth is round, and therefore you've shaped your worldview to believe that and to think that way.
So wait, if we were back in times before they believed the Earth was round, would you be arguing for a round Earth?
No.
Because are you just going against the populace, or do you actually believe in a flat Earth?
I'm siding with truth.
So you're telling me that a man of your stature who believes in the flat Earth,
Yeah.
who's rebelling against society,
Right. That's what I am.
would conform to society if they believed in a flat Earth?
I would conform to society if society wasn't full of lies.
Okay.
So your
Alright.
entire persona is based off of being a rebel, but if everyone was the same as you, then you would not be a rebel.
Not the same as me. If everyone would, see through lies and really seek the truth, then I would go with society.
But isn't that what the-
society?
You sound like an evangelical preacher.
Society is blind.
But wasn't society blind back then? Wouldn't you be telling them to find more evidence?
I think they've been misled
Okay, but
By
what?
by
by,
who?
by the scientific community.
So you think
Scientific.
That's
science
their
is
job.
bullshit?
Yeah.
So you don't believe? So you said you want everyone to see reason, yet you think that empiricism and any logic behind the scientific method is innately faulty.
I think that the scientific community warps their findings in order to create an image that they themselves have molded.
Okay, but why would they do that?
I was gonna say when
What's their motives for doing that?
when the flat Earth theory first came about, or even when people were like, "Oh yeah, Earth is a sphere," because at some point it wasn't even a question what the shape of the Earth was. The purpose of the scientific community is to, I guess, use a scientific method to establish observations, which. When the whole the Earth is a sphere came around, they obviously would have had to have gone through several experimentational steps in order to discern that the Earth is a sphere. So why would they say, "Oh, the Earth is a sphere," and then when it really isn't? Because the point of the scientific community is to, I guess, identify what's going on in the Earth.
So why would they lie?
There's something
Exactly.
they're hiding.
What are they?
But
okay,
what would be
so-
the purpose of that?
Okay.
And how would they do that? If you see the data, if you read a scientific paper and you see the data, then you can come to your own conclusion.
False
which
data.
would. Okay.
Okay,
seriously.
so I'm gonna give Sean this one. Basically, all these conspiracy theories we're gonna talk about here. This is protecting myself later, but all these conspiracy theories we're gonna talk about here have no evidence backing them.
Right.
Specifically because
you sure?
No, because the government is repressing this evidence. So
That's
all
the
this,
theory anyway.
all these theories, as they are theories, and we have no evidence to prove or deny them. So again, Sean, I will give you false data in quotation marks.
1 point for
Continue.
Sean.
Okay, so Sean wins.
No,
No.
What are your other contingent points?
Well, really, the big things are where's the curve,
Okay.
and the false data perpetrated by the scientific community.
That's it?
Do you believe in gravity?
Not as the scientific community describes.
Okay,
it.
so how do you believe in gravity? Like, what do you believe gravity?
Do you think that when you jump, the Earth moves up to you?
No, that would be absurd.
No, but why wouldn't it be? Because
they actually
everyone jumps all around the world, so the Earth would maintain its orbit because the center of mass stays the same.
So according to your theory, maybe we aren't all accelerating down. Maybe the Earth is constantly accelerating upwards.
It's constantly accelerating
what?
towards the objects on its surface.
Maybe you're right. Honestly, I'm not sure. We would need to do a true.
And how would we do that?
A flat Earth experiment?
Yes, we need to do.
Well,
How would we do that, Sean?
There's-
We would need to find some sort of empirical method to drive such a conclusion.
But isn't that all relative?
So wouldn't that make us part of the scientific community that fabricates false data?
But wouldn't it be impossible to know whether you're accelerating downward or the Earth is accelerating upward due to just basic relativity?
What if
Because
it's
it's from
both?
any perspective. You'd have to be from If it's
You
both,
have to be an
then
outside observer.
If it's both, it would be double the force.
No,
So you'd be
it
crushed.
wouldn't be. Just because you have a higher acceleration than the Earth because you have a smaller mass. But the same force is enacted.
But then
on
you're
both
also
the Earth
implying that
and
like
you.
gravity is dependent on mass, which flies in the face of Sean's
Ben,
whole
we
theory.
learned this in physics.
No, but I'm saying that flies in Sean's theory of gravity, like in the face. I'm playing devil's advocate.
Oh, okay. I get it. What? Wait, I'm confused.
I get it. Wait, hold on.
On that note, I'd also like to note that the Bible says the Earth is flat.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're taking the Bible as your source.
Yes.
Sean,
Whatever.
I feel like that's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, hold on.
Sean, I feel like we can't attack that without.
You can't attack it because it's the words of God.
Oh, I still want to yell at you right now.
Is that a conspiracy
I like
theory?
how Paul and I go to the same church, and we have the most problem with you saying this.
Sean, are you even Catholic?
I'm Jewish.
Oh yeah,
I don't
Ben's
even, like-
Jewish. Are you even Christian? Like, wait, it's sparkly. What the hell
Yeah.
is like that?
Pretty weird plant.
You know what? Sean has his own religion. He can think whatever he wants.
Okay, so next theory.
No, we're not done talking about flat Earth, buddy. Right. So you say perspective, and looking down, you don't see a curve,
Mm-hmm.
and you think all data from the scientific community is falsified.
For the most part, yeah.
My question to you is, how would they keep that many scientists into the loop? Because there are so many independent researchers and so much other stuff. How would they herd all the scientists together and tell them, hey,
Experiment replication is the foundation of the scientific community. It solidifies facts. So if there was any discrepancy in data, we would have found it by now because so many people will try to disprove
Right.
things in order
Right.
to receive credit,
Except you're missing one critical point, Sarah.
which is
The real backbone of the scientific community, the real foundation of the scientific community, is brainwashing.
oh, you're right.
no,
Brainwashing and hypnosis.
Sean. I thought we decided not to talk about crazy government hypnotizing mind control.
Whoa! We didn't say the government was involved in that at all.
All right, Sean, who's hypnotizing the scientists?
The government.
What about the independent researchers? These are people like you and me.
No. Paul, when was the last time you ate a tomato?
Yesterday.
Never, I don't eat tomatoes.
You don't eat tomatoes? When
No.
was the last time you ate cheese?
Yesterday.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
When was the last time you ate tomatoes or cheese?
Like yesterday.
You see what I'm getting at here, guys? The government plants tomatoes and cheese with brainwashing and hypnotizing substances. That's
Hypnotizing substances? That's not how hypnotism works.
That's how they keep society at bay by brainwashing them
Well-
through
well-
these goods
Okay,
that
Sean,
all of us
probably-
consume.
Hold up.
Chemicals with hypnagogic principles. I mean,
Clearly, we
but
do.
Sean, when was the last time you had cheese or tomatoes?
I don't eat cheese or tomatoes. That's how I'm able
Why?
to understand. I'm able to see
I
through
thought
the
you
lies
loved
of
tomatoes,
society.
and Rita eats tomatoes like an apple.
What do you eat?
That's how. I'm
Why would
able
they
to
discriminate
see
to
through the
only-
eyes of
Yeah,
society.
why only cheese and tomatoes?
Well,
They don't like pizza.
no. There's a variety of foods.
90%.
It's vegetables, fruits, and dairy products.
So you're telling me you only eat meat.
But 90% of adults are lactose intolerant.
So why would they
So
do
they
that?
don't eat dairy products, but they still eat fruits or vegetables. I'm sure.
Do they
Most
though?
people don't like tomatoes.
Well,
A lot of people don't.
Tomatoes is an example of a fruit or vegetable I chose for.
So,
Dramatic effect.
so
effect.
you don't eat fruits or vegetables.
I only eat homegrown products.
But according to your theory, wouldn't that be in the water? Those chemicals in the
Yeah,
water in the
yeah.
ground. So
Sean,
you're as temperature
Sean, wouldn't it
as
be
anyone
easier
else.
for the government to use fluoridation in the water to convince people? And wouldn't that affect you and every other
Yeah,
person that
because
believes in the flat
a lot
Earth?
of people are against GMOs, so wouldn't the hypnagogic substances placed into these products be part of GMOs?
And wouldn't it be easier just to be like, throw it into the water supply that everyone needs?
Because
And then that would prove that you should believe in a round Earth too, if
And-
this
even so, if people who are selling produce, if they don't disclose that these things are being put into their product, then that's lying to the customer, and that's illegal, and they can be taken to court for it.
I don't think he cares about illegal.
Illegal, in the eyes of the government,
Is
means
relative?
nothing.
Yeah,
Means
okay.
nothing.
Because the government makes the rules.
But yeah, but
Right.
like let's just think about this. If the government really wanted to suppress the flat Earth belief,
right?
and they were using hypnotism and mind control, Sean,
In fruits, vegetables, and dairy products.
why wouldn't they just use it in the water supply? That's my question. It'd be easier,
It's so much easier.
cheaper, and it'd affect everyone.
Okay, well,
and you drink water.
Hold on. Flint doesn't have clean water, so let's not go that far.
So yeah, Sean, how do you respond to that one?
We're still talking about flat Earth, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In some way.
Well, I couldn't tell you why it's designed the way it is because I'm not part of that system. But I can tell you that every time I see someone eating a fruit, vegetable, or dairy product, I can tell their mind is being warped.
Sean!
What?
Were you just eating pineapple?
Sean,
off the
you
table?
just ate pineapple.
Case closed.
Okay. Another thing about the flat Earth theory, you heard about. Okay, you're obviously a flat Earth advocate, so you're up to date on the news about
Right.
flat Earth.
Yeah.
So you know about the guy in the rocket who shot himself up to prove that the Earth was flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that guy,
Yeah.
who is a champion of the flat Earth movement, correct?
Uh-huh.
He doesn't actually believe in the flat Earth movement. He only did it and said that he believed in flat Earth to get funding so he could shoot himself up into space.
And
So-
did he say that, like, what did he get from that, out of doing that?
So
In the end,
basically,
like, did he conclude, like, yes, the Earth is flat, or?
no. Basically, he was just like, I'm going to. I want. He's kind of crazy and he wants to shoot himself up.
I
into
think I
space.
remember this.
Yeah. And he said he was doing it to prove that the Earth was flat, and that's how he got funding to do it. But he doesn't actually believe that. So how do you respond to that, Sean?
It's a misguided soul.
Oh dear God.
How about the space pics? How about all the pictures from space of the Earth? Like Elon Musk's Tesla Roadster that he launched into space.
Yeah.
You could see the live stream video of it on the dashboard as the thing twirls around and rotates.
I
the Earth.
have
Right, exactly.
And you
so
can see
many
the,
issues
you can
with that
see
whole
the
thing,
Earth in the
but-
back.
Pictures and videos.
How can a video, the amount of processing data that you would need to edit a video frame by frame is just so incomprehensible.
Yeah.
In a live stream.
I'm
Right.
I'm gonna give that one to Sean. The government does have insane video capabilities. So
Okay.
I will yield that one.
But what about like all the videos on YouTube of people attaching GoPros to weather balloons and setting them up into the atmosphere, where they get to the outer layer of the atmosphere and you can see literally everything, and then they pop and the GoPros come back down? What do you say about those for people who are, just
Independent people who
I was
aren't.
gonna say normal citizens who don't have the capabilities to edit their videos to such an extent?
Did they really post them?
Yes, there's videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
Let
I've
me
watched
rephrase that. Did an independent person really post them?
Oh my god.
Are you saying that a group posted it, or there was an agenda? Or are
I'm
you
saying the government framed it as something that an independent thinker did.
So they've created all of these like YouTube channels along with all of their regular
It's
videos.
all a part of the greater system. It's all part of the machine.
So you're saying some people are more brainwashed than others, because some people are given an agenda to do something like that, compared to the regular people who would just think it.
What?
You're
No,
saying
so-
that there's higher levels of brainwashing, so that some people are more brainwashed than
Oh,
others.
some are definitely more susceptible to being brainwashed.
Am I because I'm a girl?
No.
Okay.
What was that? Was that like?
No, that was one of your theories, was sexism doesn't exist.
Okay.
That was cut
Okay.
out of the
Is
video.
We talked about that yesterday.
Okay.
We're just,
Paul
blow,
got his
blow
ass
by
kicked.
that one.
Oh,
Well, that's all my points about flat Earth.
But what about the pictures from the moon
Pictures.
and the moon landing?
We've gone over this.
But the moon landing, you can see, we were on the moon. right?
No. Shut up.
Okay. Here's my thing. So obviously we have video of the Earth rotating. Fine, whatever. It could be flat. I get that. But where would the other side of the Earth come from? How do we get night and day then? How would it rotate if we have
So
a flat
describe how this
two-dimensional
works, Sean.
Earth?
Can the sun not rotate around a flat Earth?
In what way? Is the
Okay,
flat Earth rotating?
explain rotation to us, Sean. Break it down.
Here's the Earth.
Yep.
Here's the sun.
Okay. Oh, so the sun. So the Earth. So you're saying the Earth is the center of the solar system? Because that's what you just did with your hand.
I did
you had
that.
your hand flat, and you had the sun going around.
I did that wrong. Here's the Earth. Here's the sun, and it goes around.
That's called revolution. That's called a year.
Okay.
Yeah, so how does rotation
So
work?
yeah. So yeah. That's how a year works. How does
This
a
is
day work?
No, this is a day.
Okay. How does a year work? If your fist is the sun, and you're just moving your hand in a circle around it, how does the year work?
Is it just a concept?
Yes, it's just a concept.
It's a concept.
So then how do we have
la-
changing seasons up here in the
Well,
northeast?
because the Earth, it does, despite being flat, the Earth does have a tilt. It does have an axis.
Okay.
So then when
and-
it goes around the sun, wouldn't we get 4 seasons in a day?
When it goes around the sun, throughout the year, that tilt changes. It goes back and forth.
Oh.
And the tilting of the Earth
So
throughout the
you're-
year
So you're
is
saying.
what drives the seasons.
So you're saying.
So the year isn't just a concept. Oh, I get what you're saying. So like the thing that dictates a year is the rotation. So once it gets back to 0 degrees rotation, that denotes a year.
So, Sean, what you're saying here
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Is the
We're on the
Earth-
same page. I believe flat Earth now.
is the Earth is a seesaw that goes back and forth throughout the year.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that why the dinosaurs died? Because the meteor hit the Earth and just launched them all off?
We have fossils though.
Sarah, I'm impressed.
No. Okay,
It's
so
my
what's on
favorite meme.
what's on the other side of the Earth? If you're saying it's flat, what's on the
underneath?
backside? What's on the
Is
backside?
it hell? Is that
it's
where the
just
Bible
ocean.
comes in?
It's just water.
There's just water.
Yeah.
So are you saying the entire Pacific Ocean is just underneath?
What's on the edges?
Yeah, what's on the edges?
Is it just
Is there
ice?
an edge? Because how can we live on a 3-dimensional surface with 3-dimensional objects on a 2D planet? Is it even 2-dimensional, or does it have an edge?
So as you approach the edge, the icebergs become too thick, and the glaciers become too thick, and it becomes untraversable. So no one knows what's at the edges.
What?
Haven't we?
We have
crossed-
helicopters.
Haven't we crossed the poles?
Yes.
Yep.
In the entirety. Haven't we
Say.
like walked the entirety
no.
of across Antarctica?
Have you done that, Ben?
Aren't there like pictures from like 1870 something where they couldn't
John,
possibly
pictures?
I
Sean's-
believe what was his name that Kenneth Branagh played Shackleton? I believe him. That movie was a documentary. That's the guy's name, right? Shackleton, who went to
Probably.
the South Pole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Learned about in 7th grade.
But that was back in like the early 1900s or the late 1800s. So they
Which
had,
means they had no video editing
they didn't have
technology.
video. Yeah, they had photos and they took photos, but that was
Yeah,
old
they
technology.
couldn't edit
They
them.
could try to edit them with
Okay,
modern technology,
Ben.
but it's gonna be fuzzy.
When did you see this image?
I don't know, in like school or like online. We're also big.
So, in what year were you born?
Oh God.
Oh no.
Is this a horoscope?
I hate this
What
because
year?
2001.
What year were you
2001.
born? What year were you born, Ben?
2001.
2001. So you saw this image
Ew,
sometime
normie.
after 2001.
You're correct.
Who's to say it wasn't actually from 1800 and it's actually from 2003?
Why would someone
All right, Sean.
take a picture with that technology in 2003? We had disposable cameras in 2003.
No,
Right. Ready,
it was
Sean?
made in 2003, and then the government led you to believe it's from the 1800s so that you can believe the Great Lie.
By that theory, the Earth was born. in
what about
2001.
our textbooks that were published
Exactly.
in the 80s?
Yes.
Were they really published in the 80s?
Yes,
Yes.
they're old.
Were they really published in the 80s?
Yes.
Sean,
How do
you
you
can
know?
date them.
How do you know?
You can carbon date
I was
them.
gonna say carbon dating.
Are they engineering?
Carbon
women?
dating.
It's part of
Who
faulty
developed
science.
carbon dating? The scientific community.
No, carbon did because they want relationships too, Sean. God.
No. Oh man. Have we covered your BS flat Earth theory?
Yes, we have.
All
Okay,
right.
so can we actually talk about why this is complete bullshit
Yeah,
right now?
big giant disclaimer. I'm probably the most anti-flat Earth person you can find.
I'm Donut Earth Theory. The reason why the sky is blue is because we're seeing the Pacific Ocean in our sky. Thank you.
I
That's
have
all.
more faith in the scientific community than the average person does.
Yeah, honestly.
And I'm also not religious.
So basically for this video, we're going to be having one or two of us argue for one of the theories. We're going to have other two arguing against it. And then afterwards, we're going to talk about our actual beliefs.
I hated that entire thing because somehow you were managing to come up with points to support it. That was...
Yeah, it was impressive.
I was a little bit scared,
If
actually.
you can't put faith in the scientific community, if you're facing someone who doesn't have faith in the scientific community, then everything falls apart. If you don't believe in carbon dating, if you don't believe in images from the 1800s, it's hard to refute that.
If you boil it down even more, it's someone who doesn't believe in basic logic and reason. It's someone who can see proof and doesn't believe that like objective way of deducing things doesn't actually work.
Yeah.
And they live in a faulty state of reality.
Right.
I can understand why some people might not believe the scientific community because they don't understand the processes and the language is too advanced, I guess, because it's not their area of study or expertise. I don't understand half of the studies I read, you know what I mean? But
That might
at the
just be
same
you, Sarah.
time, well,
Wow.
at the same time, these are people who have been training pretty much their whole lives in this one specific area, and they've been conducting experiments, and they probably know what they're talking about more than anyone because they're experts. So we have no choice but to believe them, because if we can't believe them, then who can we believe? People who are just making up theories about these sorts of things?
We can believe the flat Earth community.
Yeah.
Very
So,
trustworthy.
yes, I feel like we are following them blindly, but at the same time, we have good reason to. Because they're trained. And...
Supposedly.
Okay.
Well, yeah. The foundation of science...
I'm going into science.
The foundation of science is experimentation. So people are being taught the truths of things that have been proven throughout experimentation, throughout history. So by building off of these things, then we can discover new things. So yeah, things are taken for granted that maybe might not be true, but for our intents and purposes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, enough experiments have been done to prove these things that it's a negligible point by this time.
Right.
Yeah. So, overall, flat Earth, not a real thing. We have photo evidence. We have video evidence.
But I think we were prodding at a bigger philosophical idea, though, that you can't actually trust anything that your senses tell you, because your senses, that's just how.
Right.
Like, how do you know?
You live in your own reality, no matter what. Because the only thing that you know about what's outside of your head are the five senses that you take in, and those are innately influenced by psychology and what we know about perception, and illusions, and we know that these things are maybe not as objective as we think.
We don't see the world how it is. We see the world how our body interprets it.
Right. So
like colors, for example, they don't actually exist. That's just our mind's way of interpreting, how light behaves.
So
the thing isn't actually green.
How I see colors could be completely inverted from the way that Sean sees them, but because we've been told to recognize a certain hue, a certain wavelength of light that we interpret as red, then we call that color red, even though we might see it two completely different ways.
Well, I would agree with that.
So colors are a pigment of our imagination.
I think we all see things the same because of just genetics, Why would, if your parent sees green one way, then why would you see green a different way?
It's actually evolutionarily proven that females can see more colors than men because we were historically the gatherers of the society, so we would have to be choosing ripeness in fruits and stuff. So
why are we talking about color conspiracy theories?
Colors aren't real.
Oh, you know these podcasts. We get going on a tangent and just don't stop.
Okay.
Just circle back.
So, I think what we can learn from the flat Earth is that you can't trust your senses, but more importantly, you can't trust the government.
Especially when the government doesn't trust scientists.
Can we refute that?
No. because we're going to go into our next theory.
Ooh.
Okay.
Segue.
Moon landing was faked.
Hey.
Prove me wrong.
You're gonna talk about this?
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
I
So,
hate how cocky he just got.
I've actually had this debate with multiple people.
God, Jesus.
And every time I have this debate, I believe in it more and more.
Here we go.
So if we look at the moon landing, what was the purpose of the moon landing?
To go to the moon?
Science.
Right. To go to the moon. Why did we want to go to the moon?
Space exploration.
Space race to beat the Soviets.
Space race to beat the Soviets. So if we look at the motives, the real goal of going to the moon was to beat out the Soviets and make our country look better. But what was really behind the space race? The nuclear arms race and the Cold War.
Ben looks so
Ben,
uncomfy.
the whole reason for the space race was to prove that we were superior to communists.
Okay, well,
You're
whatever.
right,
And
but
the
there was also
Cold-
an economic reason because we knew that they couldn't pull it off in the amount of time.
Exactly. So if we faked the moon landing and proved our superiority in space, we could convince the Soviets to waste funds, waste money on an unobtainable goal.
Which we later used with Reagan when he basically increased spending that they couldn't muster because they were in a
Right.
Yeah,
economic
because
fit.
hold on, America is the only country that has supposedly been to the moon.
Well,
Not anymore.
not anymore.
Oh, okay. Well,
Well, people landed on the moon.
yeah,
yes.
well, that's what I mean.
But yeah,
Physically landing on the moon.
so if we look and the Americans were like, hey, we landed on the moon, that proves our cultural superiority, that proves our economic superiority, and we could create a cycle where the Soviet Union just wastes funds, not on nuclear weapons anymore, which we can still stockpile. They waste it on space travel and all this stuff that is complete BS,
So,
and we can beat them out economically and eventually cause the collapse of the Soviet Union.
yay.
But that would be like almost 20 years, actually,
Sure.
basically 20 years in advance. That's quite the plan.
It's
I mean,
government, man.
like it happened with Reagan. You know, when the U.S. increased spending on, I think it was nuclear weapons. I don't quote me on that. It was something, and they tried to increase spending, but they were in such a bad economic state that they couldn't feasibly do it, and that led to basically the entire collapse of the Soviet Union.
No.
And who was the orchestrator of the moon landing?
There was only 4
JFK.
packages.
I would call him the orchestrator.
Okay, JFK was the one who created the idea to go to the moon. He said, in the next decade, we are going to go to the moon.
Are you sure you came up with that?
Yes.
Like full-heartedly?
He basically, JFK...
Because politicians make a lot of promises. And they don't
I
go
know,
through.
but he was like, in the next decade, we will have men landed on the moon.
Right. Yes.
Yep,
That's
okay.
what he said.
What year was the moon landing?
1969.
69. JFK said that in 60. Isn't that a little sketchy that it happened the last year of the decade?
No.
What?
I don't like that argument. I mean, they were trying to fill their goal, so that of course
Right.
they would be
So they were-
desperately trying to fulfill it.
So
by the end.
if a president makes a promise to the American people,
Yeah.
barring that politicians are liars and they don't really fulfill their promises,
Ooh.
JFK was one of the most beloved presidents. And I can't remember, was he dead in 69?
Yes.
Okay.
He died in 63.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to hold this, he was held to a very high standard. And if we didn't accomplish his goal by the end of that decade, we're failing JFK's legacy.
Uh-huh.
So that's another motive to get it out in that time, is to hold our. He was the Cold War president. He was the child of the American Cold War.
Uh-huh.
And if we failed to accomplish his precedent, his mission, that would make the American public look bad. That'd make the American government look bad. It'd make everybody look bad in comparison to the USSR, who had already beat us to Sputnik, had already beat us with the first cosmonaut. So
you're stating all of the reasons why we would go to the moon,
Right.
But you haven't stated, these all make sense in our modern view of the
right,
moon
so
landing
you
history.
look at the motives first. That's the first part. You got to look at the motives. So
which would agree with both mindsets.
right. So now
Hey, Sean.
Hey, Sarah.
we look at the actual thing. So as Sean was talking about last time in the Flat Earth movement, we can't really trust the videos and cameras of the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
We can't really trust the imagery and the videos coming out produced by the government during this time period.
Why?
Oof.
Because they can be doctored then.
In the 70s?
Yes. As we've already stated, the government has way superior technology than the American public has right
You're
now.
right, but I don't know about the 70s.
Well, I mean, it's not... Okay, so the video they could film easily in a studio. You just have to... You have to make it... Oh, you don't have to edit it that much.
People on the moon. I mean, I feel like there's so many details about the moon that you could not replicate.
Well,
like
even
the
so,
amount of light from the sun that you could
think
not
about the
produce.
CGI of like Star Wars.
Right.
That was open to the
I
public.
do not want to think about the CGI stuff. That's the last thing I want to think about.
But that was open to the public, and for that time, that was incredibly advanced.
Right, and that was in the late 90s?
No, but you could still tell that it was fake. You could say it was good CGI, but you could still point out what was CGI and what wasn't. It's only getting to the point today when you can say what is or isn't CGI.
Right,
It's
but that was still in the late 90s, and that was still pretty good CGI.
Yeah, but
For-
the late 90s, that's
Star Wars
20.
wasn't made in the
That's 20 years before. Well,
Phantom
the
Menace came out in
80s.
1999.
The 80s, really, yeah.
Oh, I was talking about the original.
Oh, the originals. The originals, too. But I was talking about the CGI of the 90s.
Oh.
And based on... Okay, so the government timeline for releasing new technology is about 20 years. The government usually has technology 10 to 20 years before the public gets it.
Or
For the
military
military and the
about.
government. NASA is a government-funded organization.
Huh, they
um,
were. Or.
Or they were before.
No, they still are. They only get like 1% of the funding, but
Yeah.
it's all donated.
They're on their way out.
Yeah, they're on their way out. Except Space Force.
Oh boy.
Sad boy hours. Not even talking about Noah. Sad boy.
So, yes. The government probably had that basic CGI for like we see in Star Wars Phantom Menace, even though I know Sean hates that movie, and I hate that movie. They had that basic CGI probably in the late 60s, early 70s. So they could make those little modifications to the actual video to be produced to the public.
And we haven't even gotten into, filming on a set using practical effects rather than CGI.
Right.
Crafting a set for where the moon landing could take place in and recording there.
So can we talk about why, you would not be able to film the video of the moon landing in a studio and how impossible that is? And how
Fine,
expensive it would be?
Ben. Ben, bring it up. Let's go.
You would, in order to, there's multiple things I can talk about. But, first thing I'll bring up is the flag.
Yep,
The flag does not move. How do you do that? Gravity doesn't work that way. The
What do you mean
air
the flag
doesn't
doesn't
work that way. The flag on the moon they planted is
They
static.
put wires in it to make it seem like it's flowing because obviously there's no air, there's no atmosphere around the moon, so they purposefully put wires in it to make it look like wind was making it wave, so
Okay,
they could
that's
display
possible.
the full flag.
Yeah.
That was the point of that.
All right, I can see that.
Yeah.
But
So there are wires in
yeah,
it.
the big thing is the lighting and the shadows.
The lighting in the shadows.
Yeah,
Okay.
the amount of light that they would need, they would have to use. I've read about this. They would have to use specific lasers that were available at the time, but they were just so ultimately expensive that it would have cost more to make it in the studio than to actually go to the moon. They might as well
But
actually
this
go
is-
to the moon. It would cost less money.
This is the government and the military we're talking about here. They have basically limitless funding. And also they can just have their science again, like we talked about, big science.
We're talking about absurd costs. It would have cost less money to go to the actual moon than to make this video.
And who produced this statistic, Ben?
The government. The government.
And how easy is it for the government to just change the cost figures?
Ooh, lasers.
In order to make it seem improbable, they would film it on
feel like-
Earth.
Exactly.
So they would make it seem like it would be impossible to film it here, when in reality, that's what
That
happened.
was
Right.
even
Oh.
sounds
Too much-
expensive. Guys, we need lasers to do this. That's why it would be so expensive. You can't even. Lasers, guys.
Yeah, because at the the root of it, the government is responsible for taking care of the American people, including boosting morale. So, the arms race has us down, the Cold War is freaking us out, so they're like, hey guys, we made it to the moon. So if they're telling not exactly little white lies, pretty big, huge lies, that would help to boost American morale and kind of get us out of the depression of that age. So, because our economy was fluctuating like a lot.
Why would the Soviets also have faith in doing this?
What do you mean?
The Soviets they didn't actually get there, but they put effort into it. They
Exactly.
thought about it.
That was the whole point of it.
They had faith that they could get there. Why would we not have that same? Like,
No,
why would we have to resort to faking it?
Because it was faster. Because we were afraid that we were going to lose.
Then why did it take 7 years?
Also, the Soviets had faith in it because they saw us do it.
Right.
But you're also assuming that it takes 7 years to make a video. And you're saying that the government has limitless funding.
That's why I brought up the whole 69 thing earlier.
Yeah, they were probably...
They were running out of time.
Aiming for it, and they were like, we gotta do this, and then it hit 69, and they were like, crap, we gotta do this now.
Why wouldn't they just do it right away? Or within
They
a
might not-
reasonable time?
They might not have had the technological capability at that point yet, and in order to fulfill Kennedy's promise and fulfill his legacy, they had to get it in that time frame.
I feel like that's a faulty argument. I feel like you could do it either way.
Ooh.
Sean, help me out on this.
Sean says no.
No.
But seriously, and the whole... Basically, what I've read about this is the one of the big arguments that the moon landing was real and that you couldn't fake it was the amount of people you would have to have involved to keep this facade going, that the moon landing was real.
Actors.
But if you think about it, you don't need that many people. You just need the two people that filmed it, like the two actors that were in the spacesuits, and some government clearance. Because the whole NASA sitting in the thing them all sitting with the computers and blah blah blah. Yay, we launched, we landed on the moon. They could just be showing them videos too.
Yeah, that's the other thing is they could be faking all of this data
with the fruits and the vegetables.
Yeah,
dairy.
Don't forget dairy.
The things that they're training these people on, they could just be simulating results.
Yeah.
Making certain lights turn on, giving certain error codes if need be that need to be
I feel like you're putting
resolved.
way too much faith in the government, especially at that time.
We have to trust the government. Well, I'm sorry.
You have to understand that.
We have to.
We have to. The government
I want to trust the government.
The government is made of people that are innately fallible. And so
Exactly.
it's bold to assume that the government will act as one uniting entity without people inside working for their own ends. Why would everyone come together to make this massive, massive conspiracy?
Because
in any conspiracy.
Everybody hated communism.
Yeah.
Everyone hated the Soviets.
If you win against,
well, then they
hold
were
on.
tried for treason.
Okay, but if you win against the U.S. government during this, you'd be tried as a communist.
Exactly.
So if the government comes to you with this plan to boost American and boost capitalism, and you say no and you go against it, treason.
That's not treason. That's just
espionage. Bam.
I mean,
spy.
Isn't there
kill 'em.
still?
The only people
You're
who
basically saying
know
this
about
is
the
like-
actual plan are people who they know they could trust.
Right.
Right. Again, you
They're
don't
not,
need that
putting
many
up
people.
Flyers need people to fake moon landing. Apply now.
Wait, so let me touch on one of your points that I just thought about. You said that it would cost basically less money to pay people like actors and then just the camera crew to actually film this and an editor.
Yeah, sure.
But what about all the people today that claim that they worked on it, that were employed by NASA, all these people that claim that? According to your theory, you would have to pay all of these people money.
Yeah.
To
What we're saying,
cost more than what
we're saying is they're not paid. They just think they worked on it. They think they were there for the moon landing.
Right, but they were still being shown the videos that the American public is
They
seeing.
were being shown the rockets and stuff.
They're
what about all the
being
work they did with the
Only a
computers
very
and,
few select people know that it was faked.
Yeah.
Everything else was simulated into making them
But
believe.
you still had these people employed. You still had people that
Yes.
were going in every day and doing the math out and actually building parts of the rocket.
Of course,
Yeah.
but that was going to happen anyway because if we
like
had
we said,
enough time.
they tried to do it in the early 60s, and then they got to 69. They're like, oh shit, we
And,
got to get this
and
thing
by
together.
that point, acting wasn't a very reputable profession. So at least not yet. It was on the rise, but
Right.
so people were like, oh, hey, I want to get in this boat and become famous before
Yeah, so-
it's really hard to, you know what
so
I mean?
like-
So a
so
lot
like
of people were looking
be
for
a crappy
acting jobs.
actor,
So
or be remembered as the legends who went to the moon.
And we haven't even
Exactly.
touched upon, hey, pretend this is fake or I'm going to kill your entire family.
That's
oh yeah,
true,
we could
too.
do that too.
Again, I think you're putting too much faith
crunch bars ready.
in the government being. You're basically saying it's like the Soviet Union.
Sure, why
Are you
not?
saying it's not? Are you saying that the government and the Soviet Union are really, or the U.S. and the Soviet Union are that different?
Yes.
Are they different at
No,
all?
they're
Are
not.
they one entity?
Are they
Well,
the same?
U.S.
by this point,
USSA?
Or...
that might be.
USA or USSR?
Oh my god.
Oh, those crunch bars are very full.
So if you guys remember our food episode, we bought a bunch of food and we tried the pineapple peeling method. It went okay. I don't know, kind of hurts my fingers. Wouldn't do it. But we also bought Fritos and Crunch Bars, the Crunch Bars which have been sitting outside and are currently
Very
looking
melted.
like chocolate syrup.
Are we trying them now?
Okay, you want to try them?
So I think we're gonna take a break from this.
Let's get back into moon landing. What were we talking about?
Moon landing.
We were talking about
The moon landing.
pictures? No.
Hi, Sean.
Sarah?
You haven't said much.
Should we just jump back into it and start reviewing?
Alright, well, I have a few more things to say about the moon landing. So, if you remember during Apollo 8,
The movie?
No. Was it 11? Apollo 11 was the actual.
Yes.
Okay.
The one
so-
where they couldn't land on the moon and went around it? Is that the?
That's 13.
Damn. Too many Apollos.
Apollo 11, right? That's the one we're talking about.
Yeah,
That's the one
I'm
you're
almost positive,
talking
yeah.
All right. So Apollo 11.
Oh, yeah.
If you remember correctly, from the moon landing in quotation marks here, they had an error message, and the system crashed, I believe. And I remember watching a documentary, and they said this is the least likely possible error to have on the moon landing, and that the astronauts did not prepare for it at all, so that they were trying to remember their training and stuff. And so when I see that, I see a scapegoat or a failsafe for if the American public was able to deduct that the moon landing was faked, that they could just point to that and say, oh, this failsafe, we had this.
I still feel like that's it.
But
Then
how
maybe-
would that be implemented?
What do you mean, how would that be?
Like, what do you mean by a failsafe? Like, how would what do you mean by failsafe?
So I mean by failsafe is basically, if the American public didn't believe that they could actually land on the moon, they could just utilize that and say, hey, we actually can't land on the moon because of this problem. Not because of our technology not because like we can't land on the moon.
Oh, you're saying it was like a backup plan.
It was a backup plan. Because the chance, this documentary was saying that the chances of this specific error happening was like 3 million to 1 or something. It was crazy odds that this would happen.
In the event that the filming of the moon landing,
Didn't
the
go as
studio
planned.
didn't go as planned, something fell through, then they could say, "Oh yeah, we just couldn't land on the moon."
Right.
Yet.
If they couldn't get Ben's lasers or
I'm not kidding about that. That's an actual thing.
Well, I firmly believe then that if they had fallen back on that failsafe, then in the years later, they probably would have gotten to the moon. I just think that
it was
probably
just
in that
the
time
ultimate
frame.
backup plan.
Yeah. Okay. I'll buy it.
They probably thought about it, but like realistically, I don't think that's actually like a. Again, I think it would have been more expensive to actually film that.
Really?
Than to
Why-
go to the
how
moon.
would how would it be more?
Yeah, but
Like,
how do you get
the-
these figures,
the,
Ben?
The equipment needed, like the technology, sure, it might have existed, but it wasn't widespread enough at that point for them to.
But this is the
But
government.
This is the government.
Yeah, but it wasn't being even. I mean, you talk about the government all you want, and their money, but where are these things produced? Industry. There's only so much industry in the United States.
Yeah, but again,
and a very small percent of that is probably not owned by.
But then the government.
In a communist state, who owns industry?
The state. We're not communists.
no, but
Unless.
But what we're saying, Ben, is the government could easily dupe these people into making these props for them by saying these are real rocket bombs.
Or they could threaten them and cut off whatever funding that they have, even if it's not government funding from other sources.
You like make this weird thing or else. That's very, very suspicious.
But it's easy to make stuff that looks real but doesn't work. Whereas make real stuff that does work.
You're right, but I'm talking about like the technology required to like get like all the lighting exactly like how they needed it, and like there's some video
but
I know.
How do you know that the lighting would have been exact? Like that's my question.
Because we'd already sent probes to the moon before. I think before we landed there.
Okay.
You know, we knew what it was going to be like.
But we're just seeing it. So how would we know what that would look like? Because obviously the conditions are different than that on Earth.
Right.
So they could pretty much do anything that they wanted with the light conditions.
It could be a further setup.
Exactly. They could be like, oh, this is the data what we got, which was probably real, and then they could say this is what the data looks like on, like a visual scale, which may or may not have been real based on the technology that they had available to them.
They used a video camera.
Yeah, the video camera.
Yeah.
The video from the video camera. Do you want us to say that instead of data?
Also,
yes, exactly. Yeah,
everything was black and white, so they could have just upped the contrast of the video in order to make the shadows darker and the light brighter.
Yeah, but then that also sacrifices, like, in order to do that to that scale, that sacrifices the realism of like what people look like and stuff like that.
Not necessarily.
It would almost add like a haze over certain people.
In that harsh of a light, sure.
That would imply like an atmosphere, and then
okay.
like
not
Ben,
necessarily.
I'm gonna use a modern example here. So
Could be dust on the lens.
I believe that the moon landing held the highest record for most people one watched event on TV.
I think at the time, yeah, I don't think anymore.
And I think and if you remember, the government hyped it up a lot. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use a modern example here and say, Avengers Endgame. Everyone suspended all of their disbelief for that movie, and 96% of people thought it was an amazing movie, per Rotten Tomatoes.
Little do you know, it doesn't actually exist.
Now we look at the moon landing. Super hyped up. When people are in that state of mind, they are willing to suspend their disbelief to believe in something that's not real. So they're willing to look past the flaws and stuff because of the accomplishment and the pride that they would feel if it was real.
I think there's a certain extent to that. I feel like if all of a sudden, the government came out and said, surprise, the moon landing was faked, if this actually happened, I feel like people would be very disappointed.
Exactly.
Which is why
they keep
exactly
the hope alive.
Which is why with things like Project Manhattan, that was a secret project until the atomic bombs were unveiled and dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Reasons.
Yes. And
this was strategic reasons too.
Yeah, that was military strategy. This is
cultural and economic strategy.
Exactly. And they can't reveal that it was faked because that's going to make America look horrific. And in this day and age, we have to look the best that we can because we already look bad.
Facts.
So, and also it would destroy the American people. I would be shocked. You know what I mean?
What about the this is kind of a offset, random thing. There's a video.
No random things,
Ben. I think it's Neil Armstrong.
Dude, we talked about color for 20
yeah.
minutes.
There's a video from, because there were all sorts of different videos in the moon landing. And there's one that of Neil Armstrong with a bag of rocks and a bag of feathers, 1 pound, and he drops them both and they fall at the same rate. Right. How would you influence gravity? You would have to assume that the makeup of the bag is so different. You'd say, oh, well, there's not actually feathers in the bag.
What do you mean?
Because they took the whole.
So you're talking about the hammer versus.
Hammer versus. Sorry, the hammer versus.
To show that gravity is affected by air resistance.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sarah, you want to take that one?
They put them on a string.
Yeah.
And lower them. but they have everything. So like,
so we know Earth's. Okay, supposedly again.
So air resistance would cause the feather to fall slower.
Correct.
Because it changes the flight pattern.
Yeah.
So they would have to lower the feather and the hammer at a slow enough rate in order for air resistance to not be a factor in the feather's fall path.
1/6 of the Earth's gravity.
Not. Oh, okay. So valid, but in order to do that,
Calculate that out though.
No, but what I'm saying is, we need to get these to fall at the same rate, but we can't have them falling super fast, or else it will be obvious. Oh, the moon only has 1/6 the Earth's gravity pull.
Yeah. So by slowing down the feather's fall, they can actually make it fall in a straight
line without being affected by air.
Yeah, exactly.
What about rotation?
So then they just
Or like on a string, like you said, like let's say that on the set the actor Neil Armstrong, whatever, is holding a hammer and a bag of feathers that are both equal to 1 pound.
Right.
If you were on the moon and you drop these, they would fall in exactly the same orientation
Supposedly,
and
yes.
the speed, supposedly. But if you did this here on Earth, when you have something on a string, there's rotational energy in the string.
That's
Things move around, they wobble.
That's why you have multiple strings.
and that's
Even
why.
that wouldn't work.
But
Because
by
you can't
s-
eliminate that kind of
But by slowing
air
it
movement.
down, it doesn't. And also,
You have to put them in a vacuum. You'd have to literally create a vacuum in the set,
But-
which would pose other problems.
also with like without air resistance, if he twirls it slightly as it falls, it's just gonna keep going.
Right.
So yes,
That's how forces work.
yeah.
In my level 1 high school physics class, my teacher did a demonstration where he created a vacuum in a tube, and he dropped a feather down it, and it fell at a normal speed without any air resistance. I don't think it's too improbable to say they could have done that on a slightly larger scale. For this video.
but if you make a vacuum on a set,
Mm-hmm.
what about like a light, like the lights? So you have glass that
No,
would burst.
no, not a whole not make the whole set a vacuum. Make a controlled vacuum in that one spot.
But on the video, you can see literally like the Neil Armstrong in his spacesuit standing there on the moon with the back and everything. So they had to recreate the lighting. They had to have like glass paneling before that, which would distort the image even more to even like get the lighting out of the way, so it's not impacted by.
How do you know that all
vacuum.
the lighting instruments in the camera aren't inside the vacuum?
That's what I'm saying. If they were inside the vacuum, there would be problems with that.
But then if they actually went to the moon, the video camera wouldn't have problems in the vacuum there.
Yeah, good point.
Ooh.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Any other reasons why the moon landing's fake? I think we covered
I
a
think
lot.
that was it.
Ben, you got any reasons why the moon landing?
I mean, I tried to refute a lot of things, but I mean, my big thing with it is, Occam's razor. Like, you should if you're gonna have a theory, make it with the least assumptions. And literally this entire time, I would say something like, we talk about like the moon landing being a set, and you just make so many assumptions, like, well, they could have done this, they could have put it on a string, or they could have, had this technology. But like, you're making so many assumptions. It would be much easier to assume that we just went to the moon,
Alright,
given the proof.
So
Well, but has a lot of assumptions in it too. It's just because that's astrophysics. We're not rocket scientists, so all of the assumptions there, we just can't make
Math
because we
has
don't
less
understand.
assumptions. I'm not saying it has no assumptions, but math inherently has less assumptions than your human mind just goes, I think this is what it is. Because, logical reasoning. Logical reasoning falls, flat on its face in the face of, like, concrete proof in mathematics.
I'm sorry.
But-
I think this is a rhetorical fallacy. You can't just say, yeah, my idea, which none of us understand, and you haven't proven to us. You can't just say that, hey, this is logical reasoning, and then present it as such, when we don't know if it's logical reasoning because we don't understand it. So it's not logical
Are you
reasoning
referring
to
to, like,
us.
the Occam's razor thing?
I'm just talking about the entire science behind the moon landing.
If you don't, just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it's real.
What?
Or sorry, no, just because
That's
you don't
exactly
understand
what
doesn't mean
I'm
it's not real. That's what I
Okay.
meant to say.
Well, sure, but you're saying that, yeah, this is the logical reasoning path, but you're not explaining to us why it's logical because it's not logical to me. Like, I don't understand all the math
we
behind
already
it.
talked about, like, psychology and, like, They're also like everything's very relative. So my whole point is that just because you don't understand like math in like this kind of scenario,
you're stupid.
Doesn't mean that it didn't
Ouch.
that these things don't actually exist. Like that. That's what I'm talking about. If you don't apply these things, then like to actually go through the math that would take a moon landing to occur, is less assumptions in there, even if you don't know it, because you don't invest the energy.
No, my problem is with you being like, yeah, this is logical. That's my problem.
How is it not logical?
We just proved you wrong, Ben.
Wait,
Bam!
In what sense? Sorry.
I'm gonna take a long glass of water, Sarah. I hope you answer this question.
What isn't logical about this? What isn't logical about like the math behind getting someone to the moon?
Because I haven't seen the math.
Yeah, I haven't seen the math.
So why wouldn't it? What does that mean?
Ben, what's not logical about our argument?
You're making too many assumptions. Sure.
But there's a lot of assumptions in
They
yours.
make sense. There is logic and reasoning behind it. Wait, how are there assumptions in math?
I don't know, because people assume formulas. I mean,
Like I said, you have to suspend your disbelief.
Well,
yeah. So you have theorems, and then you use math to prove the theorems. You don't create theorems by using math.
No, we don't have a problem with the math. We have a problem with the execution.
In what way?
Right, Sean?
Take it
Plan versus execution is very crucial.
And plot does not equal
Equal
story.
story.
referencing past podcasts, Ben.
I can tell, yeah.
He hasn't watched any of
Yeah.
these.
No.
But he fits right in. Like, he's fighting,
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's good.
So
No,
yeah.
so
All right, this is making me tired.
Okay, so I think moon landing, we've covered it. So now it's
Oh,
time.
wait, Sean, did you have something to say?
the thing, so
Oh,
if you go and study mathematics on a university level, you'll find that you end up doing proofs on all the theorems that you've learned. The theorems aren't just like kind of blindly held beliefs like you kind of
No,
implied there.
like we said,
they are backed by proofs, and proofs ultimately boil down to basic intuitive mathematics. Like when you add 1 and 1, you get 2. That's pretty clear.
And you can
cut.
prove
2
that-
plus 2
yeah.
is 5 sometimes if the government wants you to think that. 1984.
All right.
Well, what Sean's saying is kind of like my point. Like, sure, you can say that like whatever complicated calculus theorem they use to actually map, the path to the moon, like, whatever you want to believe about it or whatever it actually is.
The volume
You
of
can
the
actually-
moon is changing at what rate?
Stop, Mrs. Marcotte.
Miss Marcotte!
Miss Marcotte.
Woo, she's here.
You can actually prove these things like in our actual like realistic world with just like a basic proof.
Right,
You
right.
can see it with your own eyes.
No, but what we're saying is we don't have a problem with the math, Ben. What we have a problem with is the execution and them actually going to the moon.
Okay, so what do we say about it then?
All right, so let's do it. Okay,
Oh
I think
my
we're
God.
done. I think
yeah,
we're done.
I think we should retire
So-
this.
so
I'm exhausted.
Disclaimer time. I said at the beginning of the video, every time I talk about this, group polarization. I get more and more. Believe that the moon landing was faked. Yeah, I don't. The moon landing was completely real.
Yeah.
It's real. It was not faked. The points to prove that it's real, my entire argument against the motives of why it was faked, I got that from the movie Interstellar. So watch that. Good movie. And another big thing, like Ben was saying, the shadows is a big reason why it wasn't faked. And finally, if you...
What about the shadows? I'm just curious.
the shadows, so I'll put a picture in here. But the shadows of the people and the astronauts are parallel.
I'm sorry.
And the only way you can have that is if there's a light source, aka the sun, thousands of miles away, millions of miles away, to create those parallels. Because light, there's little deviation so that there'd be parallel shadows. Also, during Apollo 15, when they landed on the moon, not Apollo 11, not the first time, but another time when they went, they put reflective mirrors on the moon. So if you shine a giant laser at the moon,
I totally forgot about that. Yeah,
the
that would be
laser,
good evidence.
The laser bounces back, and you will receive feedback and data that says that you get that back. So that's the only That if you bring that up during when I'm trying to convince you that the moon landing was faked, I have no response.
Yeah, I
to
should have
that.
brought that up. I totally forgot about that.
Moon rocks.
Moon rocks. They're just rocks from Nevada. But
No,
yeah.
they reflect the lasers.
Oh yeah.
They're reflective.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. You know what? Why not? But yeah. So no, I do believe that the moon landing actually did happen.
Yeah, me as well.
We're not crazy here. We don't think it was a big hoax and a government conspiracy theory.
It's fun to think so.
Yeah, it's fun to argue though.
Yeah.
We had this debate at a debate club, and I almost convinced one of my friends that it was faked.
The captain of the debate team.
So yeah, the captain of the debate team,
What?
Sedona Shepherd.
Oh my
after that,
Sedona.
yeah,
Actually, that makes sense. I can see that.
she was just like, "Wait, you were lying about all that stuff?" I'm like, "Yes, it wasn't fake." She's like, "Oh, I almost believed it was fake." Very gullible.
It's a pretty convincing argument, though.
Yeah, it's
But
not
like
bad.
again, as I was talking about, there are innate reasons why like that kind of argument is flawed.
Right. I mean, and then I could also bring up, like, if you guys were less informed about stuff, I could also bring up BS stuff, like the Whitewater scandal with the Clintons, that the DNC guy committed suicide. I could say that the Clintons killed him off because he was a top NASA official. I've used that argument before. But if you know what it is, then you're like, no, that's complete BS. I've also said that the Nixon tapes, the 14 minutes that were deleted, were actually he was talking about the moon landing being faked, and that's why it was deleted. So that's fun to convince people that. But yes, the moon landing was real. It was not faked. We can move on to our next conspiracy.
Which will probably be our last one for this video, since we're already almost an hour and a half into it.
Yeah, but we took a long break, so it's all good.
Oh, that's valid too.
Okay, Sarah, it's your time to shine.
Oh, Denver
Yep.
Airport.
And the Illuminati, New World Order.
Oh God, I know pretty much nothing about the Illuminati, so mine's pretty much just I don't know the connection between that and the Denver Airport. Someone else
So
can explain
basically, Denver Airport is said to be the staging ground for the New World Order, and that the Illuminati and stuff are underneath the Denver Airport, and they use that as their headquarters.
Physically underneath.
Like, physically underneath.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
so-
what I mean.
The building that was there before the Denver Airport was put in had chutes underneath it. I think it was trash chutes. It was supposed to be like this new recycling sort of easy way to collect stuff.
Air tubes.
Well, yeah, like you would send stuff down and they would go into this big receptacle. Whatever. Completely everywhere underneath. So when that building was raised and the Denver Airport was put in, obviously all the tunnels were sealed up. At least that's what people lead you to believe. There's theories that the tunnels were actually revamped into working tunnels rather than just trash chutes, so people can get around under there. And it's many people's belief that this is used as the Illuminati's headquarters, but it's also like a good way for, if the president travels to Denver, he can go underneath the airport in order to escape the crowds and stuff. It's just an easier way to walk around. It's like in Disney World when they have all the tunnels underneath Disney, so the characters can go around. There's just a lot of weird stuff surrounding the Denver Airport, such as a freaky mural in it, and also the most famous attraction outside of the Denver Airport, which is Lucifer, the horse that is supposed to represent the fourth horse in the apocalypse, Death, which is strange since Death's horse was white in the book of Revelation, but this one is actually blue. It's skeletal, it has red eyes, it is the freakiest thing that I have ever seen. And it killed its sculptor while it was being sculpted. It was almost finished, and Paul's probably going to put in a picture, but so the statue is of a horse rearing up on its hind legs. One of its front legs fell off and killed the sculptor before he had finished it. So it was finished after his death and still put on display. And there's been some weird things surrounding it, so.
That is pretty demonic.
Yeah, honestly. So there's also the idea that, aliens are being housed underneath some sort of.
though, right?
Well, yeah, but this is supposed to be like sort of a branch off of Area 51. But my favorite conspiracy is that the government is buying into all of this conspiracy theories in order to cover up the fact that all of this is actually real. So they're like, yeah, conspiracy theories, when in reality it is all real, because they're trying to make people debate and argue and think that it is a conspiracy theory.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah, honestly. So I don't know what you guys have to add on to that. I just think it's wicked cool and kind of creepy, you know?
Other things about the Denver airport, when I was reading about this, because I had no idea anything about it, and Sarah was like, oh, the Denver airport. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll look this up.
Yeah, I just have kind of common knowledge.
It's got a very unusual layout.
Yes. It's
Like,
very
it's
confusing.
Very strange.
It's not like a regular airport at all.
No.
It's also extremely large.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I think it's the biggest airport in the U.S. Don't
Yeah.
quote me on that.
Which
One of them at least,
Yes.
yeah.
which is weird because Denver's not a super popular like city for air travel. Like you would
Actually, it's an international airport,
right,
but
but you would think New York, Boston, Atlanta,
LA.
San Francisco, LA, like, all of those would be more busy, more. Denver's kind of in the middle of the country for an international airport.
Denver has the Broncos Stadium, Mile High City.
I mean, like,
That's it.
I've been to Denver, and it's smaller than I would think.
Right.
And also, like, you go outside the city, and it's like you look in the distance, and you see it's like flat. It's like the middle of the city. Like you see like the skyscrapers and everything, and then that's it. It's just flat land.
It's like
And
No
Texas.
curve.
Shut up.
No curve.
No, but
Shut up.
it's kind of a strangely large airport for a not super popular area or city. So, I mean, it would make sense that the Illuminati or another group is using it as their headquarters to house whatever they want. So, aliens, aka whatever. Sean, you've been quiet during this podcast. You want to talk?
I'm not incredibly well informed about this theory, so I've kind of just been.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
what about
kind
the
of a-
Illuminati? You know.
Yeah. What about the whole concept of the New World Order? What do you think about that?
Ben, why do you keep calling it that? Do you have something to
New
tell
World
us?
I mean, I am Jewish.
Okay, congrats. Like, alright, cool.
I think it's fun to like speculate and talk about and make fun of, but I don't think there's. Is there any real evidence to support the
But that's
idea
what
of an
conspiracy theories are.
Illuminati?
That's what we said at the beginning.
But everyone is a lizard. We know that.
What? I'm a lizard?
No, like everyone.
In
like,
my meat?
Everyone in
in the
power.
Illuminati. Everyone in power is a lizard.
Oh,
Remember?
okay, that's viable.
Remember that time in calculus? It was like second term when Paul laid that egg. Wasn't that pretty suspicious?
I don't think so, but a lot of people do that.
Exactly. We're all lizards.
Oh.
It's all. I'm connecting the dots now.
It all makes sense.
Oh.
Pretty crazy. Guys, I just laid it.
But yeah, like
Oh.
I feel like this one is a hard one to refute because there's not really a lot of
it's
hard.
It's kind of just an idea
evidence.
that's floating around.
yeah, there's not really like a lot to
Conspiracy.
say about it either.
It pretty much is, yeah.
But like, I mean, we can point to like, hey, this person was a lizard, this person wasn't a lizard, and that's why that person got killed, and that's why this person didn't get killed. But like, again, it's all speculation, and there's no evidence for it, like we said, because either the government's covering it up or it's complete bullshit.
I honestly think that regarding the tunnels underneath the Denver airport, they're definitely still there. Like, that's a fact. They were not filled in. I think it's viable to believe that they were converted into tunnels, I guess, for people to move around underneath the airport, whether it's officials, it's pilots trying to get to different planes, it's, you know,
Or it might just be old relics of the construction.
That's true, yeah. It could be
might have been-
government officials
I mean,
moving from place to place, like...
I don't personally know the history of the construction, but it's possible that it could have. I mean, just from my me thinking right now, it could have been constructed for some other purpose and then converted into an airport afterward. Like halfway through construction, been like, okay, yeah, we can make this into an airport now.
I don't even remember. I think it was
I
originally
don't
just
know.
going to be put into an airport.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, pretty much all of my knowledge about this theory is from my friend Cam, so I don't know. They had a lot more to say about this than I did.
The Illuminati is just kind of like a very basic idea of mistrust of famous people and the government. And the government.
Yeah.
I had
So-
a dream once that the middle school was actually a front the Illuminati headquarters.
I would believe
I actually
that.
had to. Yeah, same.
Because
I've had that dream.
in the dream, there were
Hive
like
mind.
markings on the walls, and I like drew it out. And if you like combined all the markings from each floor in the middle school, each of the 3 floors, they made the triangle with the eye. And that's how I found out.
Did you actually do this?
Of course they did.
How about
Okay.
this? J.K. Rowling is part of the Illuminati. Why else would she include something with a triangle, a circle, and a line in it as the Deathly Hallows?
Look at the back of U.S. Currency, like dollar bills.
Oh, Paul has some. There's the pyramid.
Yeah, look at that pyramid with
Well,
an eye on
that's
it.
where the symbol comes from.
Isn't that kind of?
That's where people think. I'm pretty sure that's where the symbol came from. It's like people see that as like, oh, that's weird. It must be a higher society thing. And then the Illuminati concept was created.
Where did that symbol even come from? Like, quick
It
question.
means something. I forget what it is, but it's some actual like. I don't remember.
It's creepy. It's like unnerving because it's unnatural.
The,
To have those like weird sharp edges around something that's natural
like
and innate as an eye.
even the
Yeah, right.
the other symbol on the back of the $1 bill, the
E Pluribus Unum.
the eagle.
Yep.
If
Yeah.
you increase the contrast, it creates like an alien face.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
That's wicked creepy. Yep.
Yeah, so
Wait, here, let me see. I'll take a picture of it and I'll
New World Order.
send it to Paul so
boys.
he can put it in. But
But why is the pyramid the Great Seal? That's my question.
I forget. There's some reason for it, but it means something.
And do we know
not
what the
sinister.
do we know what the Latin around it means? Because there's 2 Latin phrases around it.
I would if the high school offered Latin.
Hey,
Yeah, they would have taken that, but they don't.
got him.
Hold on, I got you.
Hey.
I'm gonna educate everyone. Reverse. All right.
Oh.
The Great Seal, to the left and right of the word one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Sword
okay.
pierce. Sorry. The Great Seal. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's the Great Seal.
The Eye of Providence.
I don't like that.
A pyramid. Yeah, that's a very sinister name. Eye of Providence, within a triangle. The pyramid is 13 steps. At the base of the pyramid are engraved.
Why is it
Roman numerals.
13 steps?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's like the 13 colonies because at the engraved in the Roman numerals is 1776. Like that's what it means. And then the date. So that's the date of
So the
American
U.S. was founded on the Illuminati.
or independence from Britain. Yeah.
So the
And then, okay, this was an interesting one. At the bottom of the seal is a semicircular banner proclaiming Novus Ordo Seclorum, meaning New Order of the Ages.
yeah, that's mega sketch.
It says it's supposed to be a reference to the New American
sus.
era.
This is kind of sus, actually. What's going on? Hold
That is
on.
pretty sus.
Wait, what does the top part say?
The top part?
It says Annuit Solstice Copotus.
I think it means the Great Seal of the United States. I think. The eagle apparently
No, I don't
says
care about the eagle.
E pluribus
Unum, yeah, out of
unum?
any one.
Out of many one, yeah.
Yeah. But what is
Oh wait, he favors our undertaking.
who favors our undertaking?
Okay, that's cool. All right.
Why is this on
one
our
is real.
currency, guys?
It's a little strange.
I mean, but honestly, talking about this in reality, it's all just like religious scripture, and anything religious can sound culty if you think about it as culty.
Well, all religions fit the definition of a cult anyway. It's just up to anyone
So,
deciding what it is.
If you just try to think of it as Illuminati instead of as like the Bible, it sounds sketch.
It's
And
mega sketch.
that's why we were thinking why it sounds this way. Really, it's just the
It's-
United States is religious, so
It's an unfinished pyramid with an eye on top.
that
and it
it
says
is-
New
it is
World
creepy.
Order under it.
It is
Yeah.
creepy.
New World Order of the Ages.
Yeah, that's
It's a little sinister, but
so weird. Wait,
yeah,
so
that's kind of
so
creepy.
I think we can agree that that's creepy and weird, but I think we can also agree that there aren't lizard people.
yeah, but it's one of those arguments
Says
that, like,
the one who laid an egg.
Shut up.
it's one of those arguments that's like, you know, like a famous person dies,
JFK.
And like JFK, for example, we saw his head burst on film. He definitely wasn't a lizard. But anyone with that theory can basically say, well, he wasn't one of them because he wasn't worthy. So they killed him. And that's the whole JFK assassination theory.
Wait, are you saying that the people are turned into lizards if they are worthy?
No.
No.
We're saying that the worthy people are wizards. Or not, no.
Like the actual people in charge are lizards, and
Right.
and if someone is killed off or someone dies, it's because they weren't a lizard.
Right. So JFK.
Why lizards?
So the argument is JFK wasn't part of the Illuminati, and they were making up for the mistake of letting him become president by killing him.
It's one of those theories that's like so obviously ridiculous with so many assumptions that like anyone with a sort of sane mind can easily refute that.
Yeah, Ben, you thought our moon landing one was crazy? Like, we made assumptions during that? This is...
The biggest assumption. Everyone is a lizard.
Well, where did the idea of lizards, come from?
There's probably some reason for it. I mean, the Illuminati is, the whole concept, besides the whole, historical thing, because it was real at one point, with some order in, Germany or something.
Freemasons.
Yeah, I mean, the Illuminati is a real thing, just not in what we think it is.
Right.
It's a historical society that was shut down in Bavaria, I think, by the king
Because
at the time. Yeah, exactly. But this whole modern concept of the Illuminati is only barely 10 years old. It's really not that old. It's very new and perpetuated by the internet, which doesn't have a lot of, it's very diluted. There's not a lot of concrete evidence behind it. So if there was, it's all been buried by endless memes basically about it.
But again,
That's true too.
the evidence might not be there because of the government suppressing it, or because it's complete bullshit.
All the above.
So, I think that's enough about the Illuminati, because let's be honest, not a lot of us know a lot about it.
Yeah.
We also don't believe it whatsoever.
Right.
Right.
So, on to our next one. Ben, it's your turn.
This is, which one?
Military.
Industrial complex?
Yeah.
Alright. So this is one I kind of believe. I think it's a little far-fetched.
It's not what you were saying earlier.
Yeah. It's a little far-fetched, but I think if you wrap your mind around it, it's possible.
So if you make assumptions,
Yes,
it's
make
possible.
assumptions. Yeah, okay. So the whole concept, I don't even know where to start with this one, is just, I guess I'll describe it. The military-industrial complex is this idea that, especially in the United States, that corporations that produce weaponry, like arms manufacturers,
Smith & Wesson.
yeah, Smith & Wesson, something like that, lose money if they're not producing weapons and being used by the government. So, for example, when we're not at war. So, during the United States history, I think there's only been, I think it's about 20 years of the 250 years that we exist as a country that we've been at peace. So 220, 230 years we've been at war.
Right.
Which is a pretty substantial amount, just as a statistic. But the whole thing is that it's theorized that you have a company like that with a lot of money, and we know how susceptible American politics can be to lobbying. It's thought that these companies with money will lobby towards ideas, and especially politicians will support their campaigns that will support going to war. And that's why we've seen so many changes in how the government works, and constitutionally, and all these executive orders that will mandate that we can go to war without actually declaring war, like Middle Eastern involvement and all those things. Because if we're not at war and someone isn't using the weapons, then they are losing money and they can't have that. And that also perpetuates in a vicious cycle towards the media. You can also argue that they would pay media outlets basically to perpetuate this idea, not as a conspiracy. I mean, you can take it that way, but I mean just as a you hire people with the same mindset as you. So you can say without getting too political, something like Fox News or CNN, either one. People can argue that they perpetuate certain ideas based off of who's funding them. Mm-hmm. There's a statistic that says that through what's called consolidation, in the year 1900 or around then, there's a statistic that I can probably find online that says that I think 95 or 90% of Americans were self-employed.
And what that means is they were farmers, they were independent contractors, stuff like that. Nowadays, it's like 10 or 5%. Also, I think in the 1930s, media, like all media, like radio and eventually television, was owned by like somewhere between 30 to 50 companies. Now it's 6. So you see this massive trend towards this consolidation where companies are just gobbling up smaller companies. And so
horizontal integration.
Exactly. So everything you see online, everything you see online,
taking over, guys.
Everything you see online and hear on
5.
TV or anything like that is all coming from 6 companies with their own agendas.
Right, so it's pretty much coming from a very limited variety of sources.
Exactly.
So it's all going to be pretty much the same.
And actually, if you look at effective corporate tax rate after everything else, like net, if you look at the tax rate, it has really not changed, but gone down slightly. So even though this consolidation has happened, the corporation is not impacted. But if you look at a different graph of statistics, you'll see that effective tax rate of individuals has basically, like the amount of money that is being pooled by the government from taxes from people has gone up, even though tax rates have gone down. So in the end, if you think about it, and the whole kind of like wrapping up of this whole theory is that there's not really a like thought out conspiracy, but just the whole concept that ruthless rich people tend to think alike, and they will pay people with their own agenda to really propagate their own agenda to goad the U.S. towards a state of war, a constant state of war, so that they make money. And as like a final proof of it, in Eisenhower's farewell speech, he basically warned against the military-industrial complex, and I think you could trust him being the supreme Allied commander during World War II, so he would know about the military. And
You mean we can trust the lizard people then?
yes.
I love the lizard people.
So I mean, I think that there's substantial proof behind this one.
Okay, so do either of you feel strongly that this is not legit?
So
I don't know.
this is like going out of conspiracy theory territory and into just like,
Do you want me to make it a conspiracy theory?
This is pretty much a conspiracy theory because there's no real proof. It's just a lot of people like warning against it and like shaking their fingers, like, and it does make a lot of assumptions. It does assume, I'm kind of refuting myself, but it assumes that these people would do things like this, and you can try to find the proof, but
I mean,
it's definitely easier to find the proof than other conspiracy theories.
there is
Case in
proof.
point, Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
Case in point,
I mean, like
any
There is-
government official ever that wants war.
the amount of politicians that get money like that we know of is astronomical.
Yeah.
Iraq War. Case in point.
People have definitely pushed their own agendas on other people for the greater good of only themselves and nothing else, just so that they can make big bucks. So it is viable. I would buy it.
I buy it. I would still define it as a conspiracy theory because it's still, again, it's a conspiracy that is like a theory about it. It's just not, I mean, in how I see it at least, some people, it is all spectrums about it, but I don't see it as a thought out, purposeful governmental conspiracy. I think it's just, again, ruthless rich people who want things for themselves tend to think alike, and so they all goad and kind of like guide the populace in the U.S. towards this constant state of war and what you would call a plutocracy, where the rich kind of have an upper class that rule over the ones below.
Well, I mean, we could pull some 1984 bullshit here and be like...
The amount of times people have said bullshit in this video.
Continue.
It's pretty fitting.
Most of it's me. But
It's just Paul.
think about it. If you are... And Mr. Holster, our English teacher, has said this. If
I
you
miss
keep,
him.
If you keep society in a constant state of war and continuously give people an enemy to look at and fight against...
Scapegoat. Hello?
Right. Society is stable.
The U.S. is stable. I mean, we're constantly at war and we don't really feel it.
Right. So we're constantly at war in the Middle East. We're recently more, but we're constantly at war with Mexico over immigration.
The only problem is that we're also at war within ourselves.
Right.
But
But
whatever. We're not talking about that.
society's more stable, even if you think about the Nazi regime. When they gave one specific enemy, that was a stable and productive society. No matter how awful it was still a stable and productive society.
Because everyone didn't want to be a communist, basically.
Right.
Yeah, because everyone was pretty much working to a common goal of surviving, which that kind of takes it to the extreme. But
right. But like, at the
same time,
if the U.S. is trying to do that now, like Trump kind of did that with the whole like Mexico immigrants thing,
and the Muslims,
and Middle Eastern Muslims and stuff.
Not just Muslims, but people who look like they would be from the Middle East,
like Arabs. Like,
yes,
if you put them as the common enemy, you can create a stable society and create more productivity, more economic growth and stuff.
Yeah, I would say the only real way to refute this sort of evidence against it would be the fact that we are in these countries in all these foreign wars and stuff like that because we can. The U.S. is a extremely powerful country. Geography has dictated that and made us powerful, and we are kind of there because not to just as a phrase, we were kind of dealt that hand as a country. We have the power, so why wouldn't we use it?
Right.
Maybe there isn't this conspiracy, but we're just there because we have the power to exert ourselves globally. Because, can anyone imagine in the U.S. with the amount of power that we have nowadays to, live entirely within ourselves and not, trade that much or stuff like that? It would just...
Back to pre-World War II.
To be, non-interventionist at all as a country goes totally against what this country has become.
Right. I mean, I think there's truth to this one. There's not really anything that you can say that's oh yeah, let's be honest.
And
the politicians do this on purpose to control the populace.
I think the only thing that can be argued against this theory is the fact that it's on such a large scale and everyone's working together, kind of. But so the only thing that really disproves this theory is the fact that people aren't innately working together to do this. They're just kind of unwittingly pushing everyone towards the goal.
Some people believe that there's an actual conspiracy, a group that is doing it.
That's probably not true. However,
I would lean towards just people tend to think alike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People with money.
It's definitely happening.
Unity versus conspiracy theory. Which one do you want to see it as?
It's just convergent evolution, basically. Everyone goes towards that one mindset in the end. In that scenario, if you have money, you're going to try to propagate it and keep yourself in that place.
Right. So I think we talked about that. That's good. Do we want to talk about our segue?
How much time do we have left? Should we continue?
I think we should just keep going.
We're pretty much done.
But we need to cut down on these times. These podcasts are too long.
They are too long.
But we just keep talking.
You can always just cut it in half in editing.
we can do another part 1 to part 2.
Okay. All right.
We only have 2 left.
And Sean, why are you complaining? This only just makes more work for me. It doesn't make more work for you.
I suppose.
Wait, we have the segue and then just one more, right?
No, we have
2 more.
We have 3 more.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh yeah, because we did 4.
So, segue. Reagan created terrorism.
Okay, I'm gonna cop out on this one.
Reagan is the mastermind of 9/11.
It's just innately funny to me. Because it's so ridiculous just making that a statement.
It's not actually ridiculous. If you think about it, it makes sense.
How about a statement like Reagan created the national debt?
No. Reagan is the reason
That's a blanket statement.
Okay.
Reagan is the reason
why.
for modern terrorism.
Tell us why, Paul.
The Iran-Contra scandal.
Mm-hmm.
Reagan wanted to create some sort of peace in the Middle East. And he failed to do so miserably. And this is how he failed to do this. So, to deal with the Iran-Contra scandal, to help Iraq become more stable, he funded a freedom fighter group, in quotation marks, called the Mujahideen.
You have been using a lot of quotes.
Yes, I have. So, the Mujahideen, for those of you that don't know, was a freedom fighter group / terrorist group that was trying to take over Iraq. After Reagan funded them, trained them, gave them weapons, all this fun stuff, the group split up into two separate groups.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's the Taliban, and one of them's Al Qaeda. So basically,
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I just.
Reagan created the Taliban, trained them, funded them, gave them weapons
Yeah.
to take over Iraq and create awful atrocities. And he also gave that weapon and training to Al Qaeda so that they could do 9/11.
Oops.
Okay, so that's not even really a conspiracy theory. That's just.
That's fact.
It's what happened.
Right.
So you're saying he did that on purpose?
I'm saying he did that on purpose.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's part of the
Granted,
conspiracy, okay.
I don't think that was on purpose. I think it was just a happy accident. I mean, not happy accident. No.
We created two awful
I'm
terrorists.
so sorry. No. I'm nihilistic. Like, this whole thing does. Okay, sorry. That was bad. But I think it was just the results of rising tensions and a domino effect of events that he had no intent of creating.
And how could you have that much foresight?
Exactly.
But he did that on
He's a mastermind.
Okay, so the Mujahideen was already kind of a freedom fighter / terrorist organization. And so, freedom fighter and terrorist are interchangeable based on your perspective.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. Like, some people see, oh, we're freedom fighters. And then other people are like, but you're bombing buildings and killing people.
Yeah,
so
but is
you're
flying a
terrorists.
plane into a building considered a freedom fighter in another country?
Honestly,
in a totally different country?
the revolutionaries in France during the French Revolution, they were terrorists. They were attacking their own country.
The IRA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's...
Well, yeah, but like that would be like if
Semantics,
if the IRA
definitions.
like went to like London and
They did.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
So people's view of terrorism is definitely skewed by color.
But what I'm saying is, the real theory is, like we were talking about with have to be in a constant state of war. If Reagan creates these terrorist groups,
Then we have someone to continually fight against.
he sets up a war for the next foreseeable future. Because we haven't left Afghanistan, Iraq, all this stuff.
But how would he know that it would
We are now,
split?
but-
How would
But
he know?
it doesn't. That
Oh,
was
it doesn't have
that
to?
doesn't have to split because the Mujahideen was already a freedom fighter group / terrorist group.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
the split was
Whatever.
just more convenient for the U.S. government.
Because now we have two opponents.
Now we have two opponents, and also Al Qaeda. The whole 9/11 thing. Was it really Al Qaeda, or was it the U.S. government staging it as Al Qaeda so that we could go into the Middle East and fight them?
What was the point of going to the Middle East? Like what's the benefits of that besides just wiping a terrorist group?
Oil.
Weapons
Oil?
manufacturers make
Weapons,
money.
like you were all talking about.
Yeah.
Constant state of war, oil to make more weapons,
And yeah,
boost the
oil.
economy.
Yeah.
So, overall conspiracy theory, Reagan's a mastermind who's evil.
I don't think Reagan can do that. He was
Reagan's
just
evil.
He was kind of winging his presidency.
He's evil.
He didn't know what was happening.
So yes,
Can you refute this now?
what?
Can I refute this now?
Go right ahead. I've been waiting for you to jump
All
in.
right. Okay. So first of all,
Right.
I don't think 9/11 was faked or
Okay.
was staged at all because
No.
Again, I think one of the main things is if you say Reagan was a mastermind, what about the fact that elections happen and to foresee? I mean, how many elections were that? You had you had Bush and you had Clinton and you had Bush again.
Yep.
And the amount of those elections you would have to premeditate and then also I guess stage.
No, it doesn't matter when 9/11 happened. 9/11 could have happened 10 years earlier. They wouldn't care. The fact is that it happened. Because
Okay.
then think about it. We get the Patriot Act. We get the Espionage Act. We get to go into the Middle East. Think of all the consequences that came out of 9/11 that benefited the U.S. government.
9/11 was big.
It's kind of like
for
the
the US.
Alien
Exactly.
and Sedition Act way back when with John Adams. It was
We got
it was
rights.
really just an excuse to get rid of foreigners, and this is kind of the same thing.
We had rights revoked because of the Patriot Act.
Right.
Yeah, it's just they want to control us, and that's kind of
So
was just an excuse.
And think about it. Who was it all under?
I really don't care. how
One
this ends up. I just
political
want
party.
to
Republicans.
It was all under the Republicans. And you know who is the father of the Republican Party? The modern father of the Republican Party?
Andrew Jackson.
Ronald Reagan.
No.
You know who started all this?
Oh, Andrew
Ronald
Jackson's a
Reagan.
Democrat.
So you're saying that Ronald Reagan pulled everyone into a room and said, "All right, guys,
Not
we're going to
necessarily.
stage a terrorist
No, they
attack
switched.
Not
20
necessarily.
years from now."
Not necessarily, but he set the ball in motion to set up for the U.S. government taking, which is kind of ironic because the Republicans are like, oh, less U.S. government. But really what they want...
So you say that's a front?
I say it's a front.
It's possible, but what about the all the documents about the CIA warning Bush that a terror attack was imminent and to put the government on high alert?
But did he?
He didn't. But that's
exactly my
but
point.
That's debatable for like other reasons. Like you could just say Bush is an idiot,
right?
Or he was
Bush
playing a
real.
part.
Bush is a criminal mastermind.
Exactly my point. And I don't think we could finish this podcast without me saying jet fuel can't melt steel beams. So.
Can it not?
Okay. Sarah?
Hey, I don't know physics.
Okay. So.
Please, yeah, I don't.
Have we covered this one?
Wait, actually, can we talk about the steel beams for a second?
Yeah, can
what's
we
the
go
what's the
into
refutation
9/11?
to that point?
I'll get into the refutation.
Wait, give me
So then we're not done with it. Let's get on.
No.
refutation.
Can we go into the disclaimer where I actually say?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So.
But Ben, I was wondering if you had any more refutations to my Reagan's a mastermind.
I mean, I think we already covered those a lot.
Supply
Like,
side economics, that was Reagan, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I feel like
that
we
was-
already
that
covered
was
that kind of in the
awful.
military-industrial complex thing, like
So
all the reputations.
It's building off of it, and I think it's maybe not to that extent, but
Yeah, I just feel like there were other reasons to go. Like, if we wanted to go in the Middle East, like we already did what Desert Storm was in the 90s, right? Mike,
Right.
about that? Yeah.
But
we were
Reagan-
already in the Middle East at that point.
Reagan was in the 80s, buddy.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying, we could have gone to the Middle East already because we were in there already. We already had bases in Iraq, and all those countries because of Desert Storm.
Right.
But Reagan was before Desert
So we could have just, done something again. I mean, like,
No,
for
but
example,
he's
like,
saying we could have gotten the oil and could have gotten all that
Oh.
stuff.
we were already there. We were already occupying Kuwait and Iraq at that point.
But that was under the UN. That was a UN coalition.
The quote-unquote UN that was literally like 99%
Right.
driven by U.S. forces.
Right, but that was with Saudi. It was a big coalition with the Saudis, the Jordan.
I'm almost positive that all the invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan following 9/11 were also UN led.
No, the Iraq War was not UN led.
Okay.
It was completely U.S. Congress. We need to get the weapons of mass destruction that don't exist.
Yeah, but even something like Afghanistan. Afghanistan is pardon my language, is a shithole country.
Whoa.
There's no, I'm not saying that people there are bad. There's just nothing there.
Oil.
It's desert.
Oil.
But that's.
There's oil, but it's almost impossible to navigate. No country that's invaded it has succeeded.
Arguably the U.S.
Yeah, but we can occupy parts of the country, but they just keep coming back. They come out of the mountains. It's impossible to fully occupy that country.
We're not actually bringing peace to that country.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
point.
Not
That's
actually
what I'm
helping
saying.
them.
Which is the
But
whole
we tried
point.
and failed.
We
because
okay.
it
We,
would've
again,
been- it
we
would've been
tried in quotation marks.
But it would have been easier to just make a puppet government, if possible, and then just siphon oil that way.
No,
through,
but
trade.
again, like we were saying, which one benefits the U.S. government
I
more?
say we retract the forces and let them fight it out. But
Which one?
But what about the fact that
Which one?
that
No,
we
but which one
produce more
benefit?
oil than we sell?
But which one helps the U.S. government more? Oil and being able to be at a constant war to boost our own economy and our own industry, or just oil and
no conflict.
no conflict.
I mean, I can see that, but I feel like, especially with the oil side, we produce more oil than we sell. Or sorry, we produce more oil than we buy. That's what I should say. We are, I think we've topped, don't quote me on this, I think we've supplanted like Saudi Arabia and stuff like that as the world's #1 producer of oil.
Right, but we use it all up, and we constantly need more.
But a lot of it's in storage. We are the most, we are the highest in oil consumption, but we are storing more because we produce so much. We are storing more.
We don't
than we actually use.
we don't produce enough to keep us.
I think we do actually.
I
We
would disagree
the,
with
the
that.
amount of oil barrels that we have in storage is actually alarmingly high compared to a lot of other countries.
regardless, the
Because-
U.S. wants more oil.
Because look, if we weren't buying any,
Then
then
why?
yeah, we wouldn't be
Why
storing.
don't we have a market selling oil then? If we have
do.
so much in storage.
We do. We
We're
sell
not
it, but we also
notable
buy
for
it
it.
because we like the surplus.
We do. We fund our own, like, we fuel our own country. with
Yeah,
it.
but within ourselves,
Yeah, we
not
do.
to other countries.
Right.
Because, in order to keep up with the amount of consumption, we buy a lot of oil, but then we sell oil, like our own oil, and then we store some.
Which helps the capitalist economy, which helps the U.S. government grow.
Oh God, I hate capitalism. Can I say that?
You can say whatever you
Is
want
that
to say.
legal?
Of course
Yeah.
it is. Freedom
Alright.
of speech.
Yeah, I think we've covered this one.
All right, so I think that's covered. Disclaimer. Yeah, I don't actually believe that Reagan intentionally caused 9/11, and but it's fun to think about because, like,
It's ridiculous.
Honestly, it would make sense.
He was literally senile, like,
Yeah.
in his like
He was just in there like.
Or was it acting?
yeah.
Oh yeah, because he was an actor. Yeah, he was
was
just
an
in
actor.
there, not really knowing what the hell was
Oh
happening.
my God, he was an actor.
Oh.
Reagan was an actor. Oh, damn.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, you're right. Oh my god, I didn't realize that.
Crap.
Wait, he was a literal
Uh-oh.
actor.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy
Bam.
confirmed.
We accidentally confirmed it.
But yeah, no, I don't think Reagan actually caused conflict on purpose. He was just crazy at some point. And I don't think he was the direct cause of 9/11 that was just like, we're going to blow up the tower so that we can get oil and stuff.
Imagine if there was like recording of him saying that. Like we just find it. God.
In 20 years, we're going to have 2 planes crash into the...
There's a there's an SNL skit called Reagan Mastermind, where like he has a meeting with like 10 people in the Oval Office, and he's like, all right, here's the countries where we wash our money, and here's we're gonna sell the things to Iran Contra and whatever, and then like someone comes in and he's like, oh, there's a Girl Scout outside for your meeting, with like the Girl Scouts, and then they all go into the bathroom, like all the people in the room, like all the people he's meeting with. And then he comes out and he acts like a senile old man, like, hello, little girl, and just like a picture. And then she leaves and he's like, all right, back to work. And they all come out of the bathroom.
What were they doing in the bathroom, huh?
They were hiding.
Uh-huh.
That's what you want. That's what they want you to think.
Like, in that skit, he calls, like, the president of, like, Egypt and speaks, like, fluent Arabic. It's like... it's such a good skit.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
And we'll put
Regardless.
a link to that skit in the description.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't think Reagan planned it all, but like he indirectly caused it. There's no doubting that the reason 9/11 happened was in part Reagan's fault.
Probably.
Right.
Indirectly.
Yeah.
To disclaim,
Unintentionally.
jet fuel can't melt steel beams,
All right.
Sean.
Yeah.
Are we going into 9/11 now? Bush
Well,
did 9/11?
that was 9/11. Do you want to talk about Bush doing 9/11?
Yeah.
Because like I mean, we kind of just talked about that.
A bit.
It would be the same conversation.
Well,
Yeah,
no, but there is no actual, like, concrete conspiracy theory behind Bush did 9/11.
I mean,
no
but
one thinks
other-
he was an actual mastermind that actually, like, let it happen.
Except what I just said, like.
Well,
10
yeah,
minutes ago.
exactly. So
Okay,
we did kind
get
of
back to
cover
the
that.
steel beams.
Okay, so yes, jet fuel cannot melt steel beams,
Uh-huh.
but the reason the towers collapsed was because you're crashing a freaking airplane into the building. It's not because the jet fuel is like they're lighting the jet fuel on fire on the beams. Like,
Okay.
But people like to point out the fact that, like, the way the building crumbled, it's almost like it was remotely detonated. Like,
you're
like,
crashing a plane into the building.
yeah.
Yeah, so
No, but like,
compromise the
what I'm
structure.
saying is people like I'm not advocating for it, but I'm saying people like to say that you hit the side of the building, but the bottom, like the entire base.
Yeah, it
crumbled.
looked like a planned
Yeah,
demolition.
they say it was planned demolition. I don't believe it, but
I mean,
it's what
hey.
people say in the theory.
Well, I mean, that could be another theory, is that it wasn't planned, but the government had a backup plan, because we all know it's cheaper to pay life insurance than pay medical bills.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So if the plane crashed and they're like, oh shit, we're going to have to pay a bunch of medical bills for these people surviving, boom, whole building comes down, much more people die.
That has to do with like the crash position in planes.
Right.
The reason why you put your head in between your knees is 1, to preserve your face, so that way they can identify you after you died, and 2, to break your neck more easily. so that way you have a higher chance of dying in the collision rather than just being injured.
That's a whole other theory.
So yeah, death versus medical bills.
Or you could take out a life insurance policy on your friends and then push them in the Grand Canyon and then get some.
So Reagan might
No,
have...
people used to.
People did that.
They would take out life insurance at an airport and then try to crash the plane and kill themselves so that their family would get money.
Or
That was a thing.
There was some woman on TV like years ago that like she had a neighbor that was young and like her parents she moved out into like her own house. She was by herself. The neighbors like this family, this woman basically took this younger woman in, took out a life insurance policy on her, and went to the Grand Canyon on a trip, and then pushed her in and collected the money.
That's funny. That's what I would do.
So I think moral of the story here is Reagan caused the planes to crash into the building. Bush demolished the buildings through remote detonation after
He
the
personally
plane.
hit the button.
Yes, he personally hit the button.
Yeah, my favorite thing about that is the whole, the windows blew out, which means that there were remote bombs that were detonated inside. Well, I mean, ignoring the way that the building collapsed, like, when the building is collapsed, and I'm not ignoring the way the building collapsed, like, all the floors are pushed down together, and there's air trapped between the floors, windows are closed, air has to escape somewhere, windows blow out.
Yep.
Like, what?
No, it was bombs.
yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Continue.
I think we talked about 9/11 enough.
Yeah.
That was good.
I think
nice.
I think we all agree that 9/11 was
That
not.
it was just a horrible tragedy.
Yeah.
Next thing. Is Hitler alive?
I watched a documentary on this. They found a house in Peru that had, was it Peru?
No,
Somewhere-
Argentina.
That's what it was. And it was, it had Nazi insignia in it, which was pretty interesting. Yeah.
There was some man in 2015 that literally came forward and he's like, "I'm Hitler, guys. He got me." He came forward and he's like, "Yeah, this is me." And they basically said, "No, you weren't." But I think he's still alive. He's like 120 something now.
Hey.
Or like
It's all those drugs he took back in the 40s.
But like, if you look at his face, like you could probably kind of see it. Like maybe he just like shaved the stash and like his face just kind of got old. But I don't.
Well, I hope his face got old. He's 120.
I do think that I think there is proof that Nazi officials did escape.
Oh no,
And
Nazi
to
officials.
Argentina.
No,
Yeah.
Nazi officials escaped. They've caught them.
Yeah, but a lot of them did go to Argentina,
Right.
as far as I know. I mean, there's a heavy German population in
Yeah.
Argentina.
For whatever reason.
I also think Hitler escaping isn't that far fetched.
I kind of believe that he got out of there.
Right.
Right.
Because I mean,
Yeah, you know what? Do we have his body?
No.
No.
All we have is a piece of his skull, which again,
How do we know that it's
So they
from
recovered
his
it
skull?
from-
What
the
happened to
funeral
his
bunker.
body after he supposedly shot himself?
they were supposed to burn it, but they didn't finish burning it because the Soviets got there.
yeah, the Soviets walked into the Fuhrer bunker as they're burning it. They like shot everyone, and then they took the skeleton back to Moscow and they like paraded it around.
Yeah, it was like a piece of his jaw,
Uh-huh.
but they refused until recently. They refused to have any DNA testing done on the skull.
Why?
That's sketchy.
Bizarre.
That's
That is-
sketchy.
Propaganda for the Soviets because they
Right.
wanted to say that they had his body.
Right.
And if they didn't, then
If they didn't, and then finally, some independent researchers got to test on the skull, and they found out that it's the skull of a woman,
So
not so.
probably Eva Braun.
So
which is his
probably Hitler's wife, but then
and cousin,
where's Hitler?
who was also
Wait,
Jewish.
Wait,
Hold
so we
on.
don't know where Hitler's body is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No idea.
And you want to know one of the best parts is that one of the high officers, like, so obviously they have the bodies covered, yada yada. One of the high officers, like, when the bodies were being covered, like, I saw a documentary on this. There was like a journal that he had, and he had made a note about like how weird he looked, which makes me think that maybe it wasn't Hitler who had committed suicide. Maybe Hitler had escaped.
Right.
And they just threw a lookalike in there.
Yeah.
Because he goes through all of this trouble. Like, why would he just give up?
I think that, if you're going to build a Fuhrer bunker, like literally in the middle of Berlin, assuming that it might be invaded, you would have an escape plan.
Right.
He was not,
He wasn't an idiot.
He was arguably insane.
Yeah, and the plan was, okay,
But-
guys, pretend that I shot myself while I escape.
He had to have some kind of escape plan to get out of there. But
and at the same time, all of the witnesses to it were murdered.
Yeah. The only
They must
reputation to that whole thing of he must have escaped is that Germany was his life and blood. He believed that Germany had to excel or that was it. And when he saw his world crumbling around him, you can argue that he wanted to die with the German state.
But
yeah,
did he?
But
because he wasn't even German.
Yeah,
he was
Austrian.
But still German. It's all the same.
The other thing is
race,
too.
really.
Why would they choose such an inopportune time? The Russians are advancing and they're close, and they're like, well, I guess it's a good time to commit suicide and burn my body
because
so
he
there's
didn't want to
no
be captured.
evidence.
He didn't want to be captured.
He didn't want to be publicly executed in Moscow in front of Stalin.
Oh, like
That's
Mussolini.
Humiliating.
Oh,
yeah. Mussolini strung up by his ankles in the middle of Milan. Yeah, pinata, literally.
Viva Pinata.
But I think.
But at the same time, like Paul said, there has to have been an escape plan.
That's what I think. Yeah.
I think he got out of there because they never recovered his body, but I just don't think that he went to Argentina and has been setting up a Fourth Reich for 50 years.
Yeah, what happened to the first and second one?
The first one was the HRE, right?
Yeah.
The Holy Roman Empire.
Yep.
The second one
was World War One.
Was World War I German Empire.
Okay.
And then the third was the German Reich.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of sketchy how we didn't get his body. But again, what do you want to believe? Do you want to believe that it was burned in the bunker and that it's gone forever and it's all ash now?
Yeah.
Or do you want to believe that he escaped? And at this point, it's not even.
It doesn't matter.
It's not even conspiracy theory. It's just which of the two options do you want to believe?
It's been
because there's really no evidence for either.
It's been I think 74 years since the end of World War II. If I did the math right.
Yeah, something like that.
It's been 74 years. He was in his mid-40s, I think in his 50s when the war ended.
Oh, he's dead by now.
He's got to be dead.
He is dead.
Oh, he's dead. But did he escape?
Yeah, it's not if he's alive today. It's if he was alive at all after World War II.
I think he made it out of there and just. But I can definitely see the side of he was literally insane, arguably.
Yeah.
And his entire reality is based off of this reality that he created for himself in his head of creating this Aryan race, this master nation of the German peoples, and he thought he was going to, make a better world. And when that whole thing just came crumbling down, maybe at that point you just you want to die because that's it for you. Your story is over.
Yeah.
So if he escaped, what would he do? He has no point in living anymore at that point.
Right. No, I just think again. No evidence for either side here, basically, because whatever. But I think it is sketchy how Russia was just we don't want to let you examine the bone fragment.
I understand that.
And then
but
afterwards,
the
finding out
sketchy.
it was a woman, it's
Yeah.
it's always possible that, because the rest of that woman's body was gone.
Right.
It's possible that his body, both their bodies were there. His body was completely disintegrated and hers was almost gone. And they just,
Right.
Or maybe something we're forgetting. What if Hitler was actually a woman?
And the conspiracy theory comes full circle.
Does that mean Everbron was a man?
No.
Or he was gay.
Or he was gay? He was
Hitler was a gay woman.
He was a gay transgender.
Those are literally the people he persecuted. What?
Wait a second.
Also, my favorite is he's Aryan race, blonde hair, blue eyes, and he's over here with black hair and
Well, that's what he
brown
believed in, but he had a
eyes.
hierarchy. He believed that the Aryan race were that the perfect race was blonde hair, blue eyes, strong built.
So then why did he put himself at the head of
But
everything?
he didn't. He was still believed he was Aryan.
He's crazy.
He thought the perfect race was blonde hair, blue eyes, but he was also all the people that were just fair skinned and had brown hair were in that category too. Even Western Europeans, the French and the British, were in that category.
Right.
He below that was the Mediterranean people, and then blacks and Jews and the rest of them. but he thought that Western Europeans were the best, no matter who you were, basically.
Yep. All right. So I think we've exhausted this one.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no really disclaimer for this. It's kind of like, it's whatever you
It
want
was
to believe.
controversial anyway.
Yeah, it's whatever you want to believe. So, I think we can move on to our second to last one, JFK. Now, this one is hailed as the mother of all conspiracy theories. What do you guys think?
I mean, do you want to go over it?
What do you mean, go over it? You want me to
Like
go over
the basic storyline of like
Okay.
the
Ready?
From that point of view.
So, if you've never read a history book at all, which
Condescending.
some of you might not have because you're watching this on YouTube, so who knows? And it's titled
It's like
Conspiracy Theories.
2.5 hours in. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, it's conspiracy theories from some rando podcast, because you might not have read a history book. So, JFK goes on a trip, lands in Dallas.
Well, JFK was the president of the United States.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we should say
Yes.
that. In case you don't know
In
already.
case you don't know. I believe he was 35th, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
So, 35th President of the United States, JFK, flies into Dallas Airport, lands at the airport. He gets in his motorcade with his wife, Jackie Kennedy, and the two Secret Service agents step onto the back of his motorcade, as they do with every other procession. Top's usually up. There's usually people in the back so that you can't shoot the president.
Mm-hmm.
They decide to put the top down.
That was
And these two people, these two CIA agents are called, or not CIA, what do I keep saying? Secret Service agents are called away.
yeah.
And they're like, but we need to protect the president. And someone's like, someone from higher up told you to go away. So these two Secret Service agents get off the back of the motorcade. So JFK is not
I
for
did not know that part.
Yeah.
Is that actually like?
Yeah, no,
confirmed?
this is legit.
Okay.
Literally right before they got into the square, they were taken off the back,
Right.
which is weird.
Yeah.
But I think that was just a coincidence. The whole thing with the top down, it was because he was the people's president.
Right.
He wanted to be close to the people. He wanted to show them that he was just a normal guy because
Yep.
From Boston,
yeah,
Normal
he
guy, yeah.
is part of the Boston aristocracy or whatever, but he wanted to be friendly with the people because that's what he was. That's what he was known for. So the
He was
reason
an
why
Irish
the top of the
Catholic.
motorcade was down was because
Right.
he wanted to be seen.
We're just setting the scene.
Oh, okay. We're not refuting
'Cause-
it. Sorry.
No, because in case these people have never read a history book. So top
Ouch.
down,
Or they're not from the U.S.
Secret Service
I
Secret
don't
Service
have
agents are
international,
off.
but-
So you got Driver, you got Jackie, and you got JFK. They go down. They're going along.
No, someone else is in there.
Is there someone else? Oh, the secretary guy.
Yeah, who was shot in the
Right.
neck and the
Right.
wrist.
Yep.
Yep. So secretary dude.
What was his name?
No idea.
No clue.
I knew this.
So they are going down the route, but this isn't the original route that was planned.
Yeah, last minute detour
Last minute detour
for
where they
traffic, or
something.
Something.
I
Someone
mean, it
called
wouldn't
it.
be traffic, but
So they go into the square. JFK gets first shot in the neck, and then he gets shot in the head.
yeah,
Yep.
2 bullets.
2 bullets.
First shot misses completely.
So
Yeah,
that
you
means
wanted-
3. That means 3 bullets.
Oh yeah, there's 3 shots. But
Yeah, there were 3 shots. Yeah, that makes
do you
sense.
want to know where that one went? There
Didn't he hit
was
someone else.
Nope. Well, okay, so there was a documentary about it, and in the CIA video that was shot.
The Zaputa film.
Yeah, that was a Ruger film. It wasn't CIA.
No,
It was
no,
some
no, no.
random person. Right?
No. I'm talking like 3 days later. Kennedy's pronounced dead. They want to know what happened, so they close off the area again, and they're filming. They're looking up at the library, and they go past a streetlight. You want to know why the first shot missed? Because it went through a streetlight and was redirected down the street, hit the pavement, shot up a piece of pavement, and hit that other guy, who was the only other person injured that day besides the 2 in the motorcade.
Yep.
So, it's really cool if you look at the video because they're looking up at the library and, you see the streetlight and then all of a sudden there's this one white speck on the streetlight because it's black and white, and that's the sky that you can see through the streetlight. The bullet hole. And obviously that stoplight isn't there anymore because it was replaced. So,
Right.
anyway, sorry, detour, but
So-
just a cool
That's
fact.
JFK gets shot. Jackie climbs on the back of the car. Car keeps going to the hospital.
You have to get a piece of his head off the back.
Which is fucked.
Yeah.
That's the scene.
Which, oh no, never mind. Sorry, exit wounds are bigger, but
So
That's the
let's
scene. Yeah.
let's discuss.
So, fishy things. First of all, I think the way he was shot is very suspicious.
Right.
You know, went through his neck, and I think in the video you can see him go like this.
Yep. He reaches up.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden you
And-
see him. His head goes backwards. He goes
Yep.
backwards. So people say that he must have been shot from the front, which means it was a second shooter.
Right.
no. Okay, so first of all, it must have been horrific for Jackie. I mean, obviously him.
Or
as
first
well.
instinct was to grab the piece of his head.
Well, no, because he's like grabbing at his neck, and she leans
Yeah, she
forward
looks
and looks
forward.
him in the face, and then watches his face explode. So I just
Yeah.
Damn.
No.
That'll ruin your whole day.
Okay,
All
so Ben, you're sitting up straight. Someone puts pressure on the back of your head. What's your first instinct?
Like fresh in the back of my head.
Yeah. So like if I do this,
You're gonna
what's your
do-
first instinct?
Go forward. Yeah.
No, to push back on my hand.
Really?
Yes, that's your first instinct.
No, my first instinct is to go forward.
So
Because you're pushing on my head.
Yeah.
no, the reason why he
And maybe I'm just challenged. I don't know.
no, the reason
Dude, what
See,
the
he went away. He went away from the foot.
It's just reflex.
well, like if you're not
I just kicked Ben in the head, by the way.
if you look at the video, his head goes back a little bit before going forward, and that's because he's not expecting the pressure on the back of his head. His head is being held straight. So if something pushes the back of your head, your initial response is to push back on it because it's like you want to keep your head straight. You know what I mean?
I guess, but like that kind of, you're implying that he would have that kind of reaction time, being shot in the
It's-
back of the head to go,
Oh wait, I gotta go backwards.
You know, to be
But
sure.
literally, he was dead the moment that bullet entered his head.
He wasn't. But no, he was pronounced dead at the hospital a few hours after.
Okay,
he
fine,
arrived.
but he's probably not like consciously like reacting or having any kind of like that like putting pressure on the back of your head. That is
It's an innate reaction.
It's an innate reaction. I'm guessing his brain wasn't processing much when it had a massive hole in it. You know, just a thought.
All right. So let's go over all the sketchy things, right? So Secret Service officers get off the back of the car.
Yep, sketchy.
Sketchy.
Route being rerouted.
Sketchy.
And Oswald being there at that exact window for that precise route, which
Right.
is very, very suspicious.
Right.
Was the route changed during the procession or before?
I believe it was before.
Before, but not that long before.
So
Yeah.
then
Oswald didn't have enough time, I don't think, to prepare for that new route.
Then how would the rest of the people lined up on the street have been able to
No,
oh,
no,
you're
no.
right, actually.
No, but thinking about it, to get to that vantage point,
He'd camped it out the night before.
Yeah, I think,
Right,
he,
but
I think
he
he
can't-
worked there, right?
No.
Didn't he work there
No.
at the book depository?
Nope, he's just chilling.
I thought they changed the route the day of.
I don't remember. He had camped it out the night before.
There weren't
I
that many
thought,
people there.
But
There weren't that many people there. It was like
All right. Well, regardless, route being changed overall.
it's fishy.
Him getting shot in the neck and then in the head.
he's a bad shot.
Like the way he was shot was suspicious.
Right.
Yeah.
The fact that the angle they mocked it up, like they had someone try and shoot that angle. Those angles don't work.
Yes, it does. Jump seat.
Jump seat.
Yes.
Explain.
In that particular type of car, it's not just two seats in the front. You have a jump seat in the middle, which is slightly down and to the right.
Okay.
Which means that if you have a normal seat in the middle of the front, then it doesn't work because you have going through the back of his head, through the front of his head, and then you have to go up and then like down to the left. It's weird.
Right.
But if you have a jump seat, which is down in the car a little bit and to the right, then you have a clear trajectory through Kennedy's head, through the back of his neck, and into his wrist.
Okay.
So the angles do work
Is
out.
it possible that the contours of Kennedy's skull curved the path of the bullet?
This is not phrenology, no.
The bullet curved.
Where's the curve?
Can you find the slope of that curve?
Other sketchy things. The window.
Uh-huh.
The glass that the bullet. I can't remember. I'm literally going off of knowledge from like 6 years ago. But
My dad watches these religiously, so I know.
right. So I believe that the bullet hole was like perfectly circular
Through the window?
through the window.
What is a bullet?
Oh yeah, no. Another fishy thing. The glass was replaced.
The glass was replaced. That's what I was going to get to. But I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
yeah.
The bullet hole through the windshield was perfectly circular.
Not angled.
Not angled, not at all. So perfectly circular through it, which means a
The
high-powered
second
weapon.
shot that went through his neck, right?
I guess so. I don't know.
It must have been, but
But it must have been a high-powered rifle not to shatter the glass. And it must have been from a lower trajectory, not from the elevated. Because if you hit that on an angle, the glass would have shattered.
Yeah.
But it's a perfect circular hole, so the glass didn't shatter.
I think like a very common theme of this whole conspiracy theory that's different from others.
Mr.
is
Russo
that
believes this one.
Yeah. The thing that makes this one different is that it's a massive, massive rabbit hole. The
Yeah.
more you look, the more like weird and odd like things like that you discover, and like just very odd coincidences.
Yeah, and then
There's a lot. Yeah, there's
It,
a lot
like
of coincidences.
for and against. Like the more you look, you find weird evidence for and against it, and it's just very odd.
Everything around it. is
Yeah.
and then,
just-
like Sarah was saying,
I feel like it was a really botched. Just
Yeah, it was extremely botched, no matter what you think about it.
yeah.
but what Sarah was saying was after they got Kennedy to the hospital and they took the motorcade to analyze it and stuff, they replaced the glass
Which,
right away. They didn't want
Why
any.
would you do that?
After the guy who was replacing it saw that it was circular, they were like, okay, get rid of the glass. So they
Yeah.
didn't analyze it at all. They just replaced the glass.
They didn't even take a look in the car, which had blood everywhere. They did not do anything with that. They just replaced the glass first, then looked at the car,
Right.
which is shady as hell.
And then the other big thing that's wicked sketch is the CIA investigation.
Yeah.
Overall, is after they finish their investigation, they're like, we can't reveal our results for 25 years because it's too hard for the American public to take. That's literally what they said.
Wasn't it just released like recently?
Yeah.
And they were like,
They redacted most of it though.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So they were like, we can't release it for 25 years because it's too emotionally difficult for the
I think it was
American
50
people.
years because it just came out recently.
Okay, 50
Yeah.
years, whatever. For some, a lot of time, which is first of all sketchy.
Yeah.
Because all the people that would be in power, if there was a cover up, they're all gone, so it doesn't matter. And then when they did release it recently,
They
redacted most of it.
So now that knowledge
And
is
a lot of the information that they said was in it, they're like, oh, we lost it.
Yeah.
So where did it
Oops.
go?
Yeah. Oops.
it's
Like again, it's a rabbit hole of conspiracy theory. The more you look, the more evidence there is.
And then we didn't even get to the shooter.
Oh yeah, Oswald.
Yeah.
Who was then assassinated
By Jack Ruby.
Well, like the next day by Jack Ruby, who was just like a nightclub owner, right?
Yep, and then
Just like
he
some
died of
random
cancer
guy.
in jail, so he didn't even get tried.
Just very like odd, but you can try to
probably
blame
why
it
they
on
had him
coincidence.
kill him because they knew he was going to die
Like
soon.
Right.
it works to say it wasn't a conspiracy theory, like that it wasn't, all the because you can say there was a second shooter, you could say the government, planned this.
Well, then we can get into the whole Andrew Johnson thing.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm. Forgot
So,
about that one.
Andrew Johnson was a schmuck.
like, there's a
Wait.
whole thing.
Andrew Johnson or LBJ?
Oh,
yeah.
no,
I was
Andrew
like, hold
Johnson.
on, yeah.
Lyndon B. Johnson, sorry. Get my Johnson brother.
Both of them were schmucks.
The guy who sat on the toilet during cabinet meetings and would, grab his genitals and like name it and then go to I think he went. I saw something where he was with like a female secretary and he walked in the bathroom and he was like, "Come on, you can follow me." And then he's like at the urinal and he's like, "Ever seen something this big?"
Yeah, I know. He was very.
OBJ.
Yes.
And he's like, "I call it jumbo." That's what he said to her.
Yeah, no, he was very.
Great society.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. I'm gonna eliminate poverty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a war on poverty. Yep.
No, but he was very sketchy about it. Throughout the JFK's presidency, he was trying to accumulate power and get stuff, and then, I mean, there's more stuff. Can't remember all this stuff, but there's evidence that Lyndon B. Johnson severely benefited from JFK's assassination.
Well, obviously, he became president.
I know, but more so than just that.
Yeah. I think it's
Also-
possible.
Also, CIA was not a fan of JFK. They made them look bad during the Bay of Pigs invasion.
He was also the
Yeah.
first Catholic president.
Yep.
First Catholic president,
Yeah.
first non-member of the
Why is
I think he's
Illuminati.
the only
Yes.
Catholic president.
First non-member of the Illuminati.
Yeah, everyone else was Protestant.
Well, obviously, because he wasn't
Confirmed
a lizard.
lizard.
No, confirmed not.
Not a lizard.
Oh, right.
That's
right.
why he was killed.
Sorry.
But yes,
Yeah.
There's a lot surrounding this one that we just don't know.
But
It's
a lot
too many
of them,
assumptions, and also way too much evidence.
I feel like there's
And a lot of it's been
a lot of it
common
does
trend
have
here.
an innocuous explanation though. So like the route being changed. I thought that was JFK along with the motorcade, the top being down. I thought that was him being like, hey, I want to be approachable. People have a better look at me if I go into Copley Square.
Right.
So I think that was him.
Yep.
I think maybe the circular bullet hole, probably, if it wasn't from the second shot, then it would have been from the first shot. Which, if it was ricocheted off of a street light, was it in the top of the?
But that's the thing. It can't be ricocheted.
What do you mean? Oh, because
The
high
cir-
power.
It's got to be
Yeah.
a high power thing. So that circular bullet hole had to be the initial shot. There couldn't be any ricochet because if it ricocheted, that would have shattered the glass.
No, but you mean it can't be the initial shot?
I know. I mean, I can't. It can't be. It has to be an initial direct shot. It can't be a ricochet.
So then it couldn't have been any of the shots because one went through a street lamp,
Exactly.
one went through his neck, and the other one went through his head.
Right. So where'd that bullet come
Aliens.
Yeah. that is kind of weird.
from? That's what I'm saying.
It's one that like you can. I mean, I believe that there was something very off with it.
Hell yeah.
But actually, as another note, because I already mentioned pop culture in the last theory, there's a show
What?
called 11/22/63, which was it's an 8-episode, like kind of like screenplay adapted. It was a screenplay written by Stephen King, and played by James Franco, where a guy goes back to the past to prevent the assassination of JFK, and you see all the details leading up to it. And I won't spoil it, but it's an interesting.
He dies.
JFK dies.
Well, I mean,
guys.
I guess no, he prevents it, but you see the consequences.
Oh.
You see the consequences. of
Spoiler
what happens.
alert,
Yeah,
Ben.
sorry. It's very good.
God.
I
I really
also-
thought that was just a
If
given.
we're gonna talk about pop culture here, there's
Pop
the show
culture?
Timeless.
Oh yeah, okay.
So they
Good
go.
show.
So in the episode, JFK gets brought to the present because they're trying to kill him, and they somehow bring him to the present. They're trying to kill a younger version of him.
They're like, sorry, we screwed up. Oh.
So they bring him to the present, and at the end of the episode, they're like, we can't just send this kid back to just be killed later. So they tell him, don't go to Dallas that day. And then, where they come back to the future, they come back, and they're just like, oh, did JFK die? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, well, I mean, he was in Dallas. And they're like, what are you talking about? It happened in Austin. So, I mean...
So they're saying it's inevitable,
They're saying it's inevitable.
Right.
which I guess you can say that about anything though.
The Illuminati is
You can say that
inevitable.
everything is kind of inevitable in the way events occur. That they'll find a way to like, you know, I'm not
But
saying
that
like
just-
fate, but
Conspiracy
like
theory.
just cause and effect. Yeah.
Conspiracies. Okay. Are we on to our last one?
I think so.
I think it's
Save the best for last.
All right.
Oh yeah, Sean, you want to take the
I don't even know
Point
what
on
this
this
one
one?
is.
aliens in Area 51?
Oh!
I actually kind of believe this one a little bit.
Okay.
Any-
Not to like the fullest extent, but
I would just
Like
like to
50.
say up front, anything is a UFO if you are bad enough at identifying stuff, which I am because I do not wear my glasses.
wait, can I make an important classification?
No.
in this?
Sure.
You
I
cannot.
think okay. I think when you say aliens, you differentiate it into two schools of thought. You think little green men in saucers flying around, or you think like the concept of alien life in the universe.
Yep.
I think one is easily agreed upon, like
Yeah.
statistically. I think people can agree that there's a likelihood that there's alien life somewhere, either in the solar system, like
Right.
bacteria.
But let's talk
Well,
about.
we're specifying
Intelligent
green,
life that can-
green men in saucers or something like that.
Well, we're
you know?
talking.
Simplify.
We're talking about intelligent life that has reached out and contacted Earth.
Or alien life that's already here.
Right.
The weird thing, though, is that if alien life existed, it's possible that it's like that when we find it, it's already gone.
That's
Well-
kind of what happened with Mars. Because there is evidence that there was life on Mars.
Well,
No,
there's
but
no-
I mean
we haven't
the-
found evidence of life on Mars. We just know that there were water oceans, like
But-
liquid water oceans.
If you think about it, stars, we can see stars that are dead
Right.
because
Well, that's
the
the
light
whole
is
thing, that's
taking
the-
millions of years
you know,
to get here.
You could look up at something and physically be looking at like an alien civilization,
Right.
But you know,
it's so many years in the past. Even them looking at us right now, like a few million
They would
years
probably
away, they would say like dinosaurs. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Right? It's
Yeah.
really weird.
So Sean, Area 51. Government hiding aliens from us.
I thank Mr. Selman for teaching us about space.
Yeah.
Well, go to New Mexico, go to Roswell, and
Do you believe in the Roswell thing? In the landing?
No,
Oh, at the crash.
I've been to Roswell. It's
Do you
just
see the
like
crater?
it's just like it's a glorified gift shop. You show up and there's just like alien balloons and like little like.
No, but that's
all it
because
really
of that.
is.
Like,
I know that's
I feel like
Sean.
before that,
Sean.
Roswell wasn't like that.
yeah.
I saw a documentary on the CW called Roswell, New Mexico,
Yep.
and they talk to aliens in it.
Well, the whole theory was that an alien spacecraft crash landed in Roswell, and the government came and just took it and brought it to some government lab, presumably Area 51.
But Sean,
Why would they hide that?
Because aliens, like
Sean,
they're
you're
scary.
from New Mexico, right?
Yeah.
We have a credible source right here. Sean,
No,
are there
that makes
aliens
him
in
not
this
credible. He's under the government conspiracy.
You ate the pineapple.
He ate the tomatoes.
The cherry.
Oh. But yeah, no, I think the whole government in Area 51
Excuse
with,
you.
You can keep this away
with
from me.
aliens is
I
kind of
know, me too.
questionable. I mean, most of the UFO sightings were just stealth bombers.
Yeah. I mean, look, I haven't believed in UFOs for a long time. I think that, there's
Wait, you did?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I'm starting to think about it now, for a reason I'll bring up. But I feel like there's an explainable, like you can explain these things away with just like common sense, sort of.
Yep.
There's an easier explanation than a extraterrestrial intelligent civilization has come to visit us. Like
Ben, are you becoming a Scientologist?
No.
Is that your...
No, I'm saying that
That's his religion.
I'm sure you guys have heard about this because there's been a massive uproar recently. But the New York Times published an article, I think last week.
Last week.
About it's been just released by the U.S. Navy. That two or three pilots back in 2015 had encountered and videotaped.
Oh yeah.
What they thought was some weird object that they couldn't explain. And you can hear them because they were in jets and walking onto it, and they were like, "What is that?" It was not like a flying saucer or anything. It was just some object going at insane speeds over the Atlantic Ocean right besides the Virginia coast, and it's going at massive speeds, and it will abruptly stop and then accelerate. And the guy was talking about it, the pilot, and he's like, "Look, I don't want to assume anything. He's like, I'm not here to make assumptions about aliens or anything like that. But all I know is that whatever that is, it must be unmanned, something like that, because acceleration like that will kill a human.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it doesn't make any
G-forces.
sense. He's like, and at first, apparently, reading the article, they thought that it was perhaps a secret government drone project, and they kind of stayed out of it. But then one of the pilots on this, they were on an aircraft carrier off the coast doing drills, and one of them almost got hit by it. It was two planes flying in unison when they said that something shaped like they worded it as a sphere encased in a cube, or like vice versa. I don't remember, but some object like that flew in between them and nearly hit them at like record speeds, and so they don't know what it was. And so the Navy has now instituted a proper system for reporting UFO sightings, so that they can actually substantiate these and investigate.
There's also been sightings by like normal airline pilots. One that I can think of is in Australia. The plane actually disappeared. Can you stop with your foot? They never recovered the aircraft, don't have the black box at all, but they do have communications between the plane and the towers, and it's the plane reporting, hey, there's a craft above us, there shouldn't be any in the area, because obviously that's bad, they could have crashed. And they're like, no, you're the only ones that we have on radar, yeah. So then they're like, all right, well, we're gonna check it out, because, we don't know what it is, and they're like, no, don't do it. They're like, we're gonna do it because it's Australia and who cares? I'm so sorry. And so they get closer to it and they report back and they're like, it's this 2-sentence thing, and it's wicked. I don't even remember what it was. It was something like, we can see it, and it's not an aircraft. And then there's this weird crackling sound, and then they drop off radar. And they never found the plane, and that's the only communications that they have with them. So.
Sketch.
Yeah, sketch. Dun dun.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, we gotta put some like Law and Order special music. Dun, dun, dun.
I've done that like 3 times. I don't.
I think we know what our outro music is.
I don't like. I think that a lot of these sayings are very easy to dismiss, but I do feel like there's something, especially with this recent thing that I was reading on. I feel like there's just something that we don't understand about it. I don't want to say aliens because that's just like so
Cliche.
like almost improbable.
That's a jump. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a massive jump, but I feel like there's obviously something we don't understand that's going on.
Yeah, no, I
like
agree.
something atmospherically, because there was one thing. I mean, not that scenario, but with the same pilots who were like, we kept seeing things on multiple systems that are act independently on the aircraft. So like the weapon system, the rocket system, the guidance system, all that would independently walk onto something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was moving fast, one of these same objects, but they couldn't visually see it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to say alien cooking, or like they're coming from the alien moon base on the far side of the moon, something like that. Like, I mean, look, it's possible.
Well, and those systems use the wavelengths of light that we can't see. So
yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point. Is anything like this is theoretically possible? There could be, you can say like how there's uncontacted tribes in South America, and what do? We like observe them from a distance with planes and stuff like that. And
it works well for Gary Pulse.
And yeah, and we make zoos. Sure, we visit them, but like we observe things from a distance and let them grow on their own, sort of. It's
Right.
possible that there is an interstellar community and that they just watch us from a distance or almost like directly being here. I think it's improbable and kind of ridiculous, but it's surely possible like anything else on this list of conspiracies. At that
Okay.
point.
I mean, Gary Powers. Sorry, wrong one.
I mean, like, there's always all the theories of like the aliens or the government and stuff like that. But I feel like objectively,
Yeah,
like,
why?
yeah, the closest to reality, the closest to reality is the stuff with like the Fermi paradox and like where is the life in the universe, and could they possibly be here like observing us? I just think it's kind of too far out of the realm of reality until we discover life at that point, because we don't know what's going on.
Right. Yeah, we don't know everything about the Earth. I mean, as pompous as humans are, we hardly know anything about our own Earth, and yet we're like, hey,
Or
space.
just reality.
We've only explored, I think, 10% of the ocean. Or
5%.
Yeah.
5% of the ocean.
Well, that's just because of pressures.
Who knows what's down there?
Megalodon.
Aliens, yeah.
Aliens.
They
are-
would not be aliens
I know.
because they're from
I'm
Earth.
kidding.
Unless they're hiding. But
Dun dun. Yeah,
Okay. I think we've
we've exhausted our conspiracies.
Oh man.
I am exhausted.
I think that, like, as a closing statement, for me at least,
Well, wait, Paul. Got music?
Yeah. No. We'll close it out.
Okay,
Ben, say
okay,
whatever the
okay.
heck you want to say.
I was saying throughout most of this is, like, assumptions are big. Like, most of these, you have to make an assumption.
Yeah.
And, or at least more assumptions than, like, a regular, like, normal person would deduce. And so, like, again, Occam's razor, like, the policy that, if you're gonna pick something, pick a scenario, it must be, like, the most, or, like, it must have the least amount of assumptions. So.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I think we did a good job here.
I was gonna say, all in all, conspiracies are conspiracies because we don't know if they're true or not, except for a lot of these.
Sexually based
So-
offenses are considered.
I
Detectives who invest
think that it's for everyone to make up their own mind. I don't know. So on that note, since Paul is cutting me off, like
No,
they
you
do
can
at
keep going.
every award
Just keep
ceremony
talking over
everywhere.
Keep talking over the outro music. That's why it's outro music.
I guess that's it for this. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to be honest, the ones that I believe that we talked about, are probably the military one.
Yeah.
JFK to a point, Hitler to a point,
Maybe, possibly, in some way, aliens. Probably not.
maybe. We'll see.
What else did we talk about?
We talked about the moon landing.
That's definitely fake. I mean, sorry, no, the conspiracy is fake.
Freudian slip.
Yeah, the conspiracy is fake.
Freudian slip.
I hate Freud. If there is someone in history that I want to punch in the face, it is Freud.
Freud first, Hitler second.
I saw a meme that was like I said Freud, like, oh, I personally want to, like, fuck my mother. And then he's like, no, everyone must think that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Anyway.
Oedipus complex.
So yeah, I think we kind of covered this
Yeah, well,
pretty well. Again, military-industrial complex, I kind of believed it. The rest of it,
JFK.
JFK, maybe Hitler escaped, possibly.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
and on that note,
We're going to play Super Smash Bros.
Denver
that's
Airport
a
is
wrap,
creepy.
and we'll meet up
With
sometime in the future.
episode 8, which we'll decide in about, I don't know, 4 weeks or whatever.
All right. Until then.